shadow secrets keep. In the depths where night meets sleep. Underneath the velvet gloom. Guardians of the haunted room. Chandeliers and crystal tears reflect forgotten yesteryears, softly chanting distant cries through the arches. Sorrow sighs. Gargoyles watch with stony gaze, guardians of endless maze. Pipe organ's breath begins to rise, filling air with mournful ties. Whispering shadow secrets keep. In the depths where night meets sleep. Underneath the velvet gloom. Guardians of the haunted room.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Lady Red of the Black Pants Legion, back with more nonsense on a Friday to start the weekend. Hi, chat. How are you? Also, I need to press some buttons because I did the thing again and I stole Lictor. Hi, Lictor.
Hello.
How are you?
Glad to be here. I'm actually been pretty. I'm excited because I sat down and wrote something, and I think about reading at least the very first part of it because it
Excellent.
has gotten bloated. It's
That's good
5K
though.
words
That's
now.
good though. When you're writing a story, and it's something we're going to talk about today when we look at what I've been up to since we were last all here, writing down too much is better than not writing down enough, because then when you edit, you can cut out stuff and you don't miss any ideas that way. So bloat is good. Not in the final product, but
Yes.
in the writing process, absolutely.
Yeah. I
We got.
have been.
Go on.
Yes. I have been mulling it over. And what I'm
Excellent.
trying to do is not to be a GM, but actually write something people can read.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a different skill set. Two different ways of telling a story. Let's catch up with chat. Wilf had possibly one of the best messages that I've seen in chat to start our stream, which was in response to something I said. And Wilf says, "What the fuck should be regarded as chat's first name?" And I agree. What the fuck, chat? We Diggs and I sat down and we were like, yes, we haven't done a Goop Drive all year. However, it's going to be December and there's holidays and people are going to be busy and probably travelling. Let's be reasonable with the amount of Goop that we ask for. We asked for 7 million last time. Let's do 5 million and make it, possible to attain, because we want people to be able to get the entire activity book. And then you guys are like, no, we're going to fill all of it in half a month. What the hell?
There you go. Loyalty.
What we have discovered, though, is Twitch has added in a nice new, I don't know if it's a new feature, but it's a feature that we've newly discovered, which there is an extend button on Goob Drives. So what we might do next time round is ask for more goob, and if we don't quite hit it by the end of the month, that will be okay. We can just go, well, extend for another week, and then you guys will still get the thing as long as you're willing to continue to donate. And then that way it's not this sort of balancing act of what's reasonable and, oh, we might miss it by just a little bit, and then what do we do? So that'll be nice to play with in the new year, the next time we do one of these. Polychromatic Goth Drop says, when the idea fairy strikes, it's always with a bat. Yes, anybody who's, any preconceptions that you have that your creative muse is this lovely, flowing, wonderful Greek goddess who's there to encourage you and bring out the best in you and allow you to put your art on the paper or your words or whatever it is. No, a proper muse batters you over the head and swears at you, and they probably smoke like 50 a day and demand to know why you've missed the deadline you set for yourself. Muses are violent.
Me and the lady of my house have an understanding that when the muse has me by the short hairs, it's okay if I go to sleep like 4 hours too late.
Yes.
This is a direct translation of what happens in this house.
Yes.
Sometimes the muse grabs you, and they don't tend to do it in a gentle or manner that is easy to escape.
Yes. Once the muse
look,
crashes into the chat, you are stuck with them until you satisfy whatever it is they've decided that you must write, and there is no escaping it. You must do the thing.
It is a biblical note that the muse or inspiration is quite literally a molten lead fire burning in your bones, demanding to get out. Otherwise, you will die from the inside.
Yes. Muse is the forgotten fury. I agree. Absolutely. Speaking of, I'm going to make a recommendation. I'm going to be very weebish for a few minutes because this has reminded me of something that I enjoy very much. And Paul Grimos, yeah, I know that feeling. Like, yes, I'm going to write a story about this, and this is how it's going to go, and then you get to a certain point, and you're like, no, this is wrong. This whole thing has to go. I have to start again. I have been there. Thank you, Hidden Boss. Enjoy the rest of your Friday afternoon. Polychromatic Goth Drop says the idea fairy is punk rock Tinkerbell with a baseball bat with nails in it and super strength. Yes. Absolutely. So, thing I was thinking of, there is an anime I really enjoy. It's sort of a sort of gothic, dark, horror-esque anime. It's not the world's deepest anime in the world. It's not, going to win awards and change the world. Not Hellsing. I do love me some Hellsing, and you don't want to get me on that topic because suddenly the whole stream will have gone by and you'll be like, why is she still banging on about this? Do love me some Hellsing. Not that one, though. This is directly related to muses and storytelling. There is an anime called Requiem from Darkness. I will have to double check that I've got the title completely right, but I'm 99% sure it's Requiem from Darkness. And it is the story of a Edo-era Japanese author who is wanting to write 100 ghost stories. He's quit his sort of lucrative job, but he's got writer's block effectively, and he ends up running across this little gang of miscreants that allows him to get his muse back, basically because he's experiencing ghost stories. And it's just a sort of wonderful little dark side of Japan's mythos, and the concept of writing is worked all the way through it because, of course, that's sort of the central theme of the thing. But it's an enjoyable story. I like the characters. I like the way it plays with traditional Japanese monsters, which Japan, out of all the countries in the world, Japan and the Philippines for me have some of the most interesting monsters in human existence because of the culture that those monsters descended from and how they've changed over time. So I very much recommend Requiem from Darkness. It's very good. Sub Integra is better than dub. Fight me, search and destroy, search and destroy. The thing with Hellsing is the sub is really good and the dub is really good. In some ways they're good for different reasons, but I genuinely like both.
Hellsing is very good.
Yes, we need to finish it.
We
really need to finish it.
I'm not going anywhere.
No, it's me and my time constraints that is the problem.
That is fine. We will find the time. We will finish it. We will, and then we shall rant together in perfect harmony.
Yes.
Like the blade of a maddened priest.
Maybe that is something we'll do later. But that does bring me around to one of the things that I want to do today. I do want to chat with chat about what they want Christmas to look like.
Yes.
The fact
There's
they
a
changed that
poll
line in the
that really
dub will
needs to
forever piss me off. Team 4 Star are wonderful, and it's interesting looking at their output. And I mean, we could talk about their creative output for hours as well. What I find really interesting with Team 4 Star is when they did Dragon Ball Z Abridged, I feel like the way they handled Gohan's story was better than the original, which in part comes from the fact that they weren't under the same pressures and constraints as Akira Toriyama, and of course already had the fully written story to work with, which allowed them to pace it in a way that Toriyama didn't have the benefit of doing. Because of how he was doing stuff. So for me, DBZ Abridged, in particular how it handles the Cell Saga, is in many ways better than the original, and that's just a fascinating thing to me. Hellsing Abridged is also really interesting because the first episode I wasn't too sure. And then the whole fact that it was, well, we're going to do one a year on Halloween was, well, the problem that you're relying on there is you're no longer telling a consistent narrative on a regular basis. You're expecting people to already be a fan of this to come back to it once per year, but then they lent into that, and they lent into, we are going for fans of this series already, or fans of us who will watch the series, so we're just going to assume the audience has a baseline knowledge and we don't have to cover that. And at that point the series got really good, but the last two episodes of Hellsing Abridged for me kind of fall apart. They're not bad, do not get me wrong, I do not think they are bad, but I do think that it's very obvious, if you're familiar with the team's output and just story writing in general, that the last two episodes only had Takahata writing them. It didn't have the full team working on it, and you could tell you didn't have the other melodious voices adding on to it. So it's good, but the last two episodes are a bit weaker in my opinion, because it didn't have the breadth of input going into it. And of course we do communal stuff here, so we like communal things, and I'm not at all getting on the series in the slightest. Bridge is Fire is talking about base series. That's fair. That is fair, Goth Drop. Absolutely fair. Mad Duck says, are you suggesting Toriyama had pacing issues? I'm not suggesting Toriyama had pacing issues. I'm suggesting the company he worked for had pacing issues because of their desired output. And that, of course, then directly affected Funimation and then the later companies that would port things over to the West, because they caught up too quickly. And it's a common thing you see in manga adaptations, especially coming to the West. Is yes, we've got this wonderful series and we're just going to start porting it with abandon. Oh no, the author hasn't finished it yet, now what do we do? And that's why you end up with your FMA versus FMA Brotherhoods, your Hellsing versus Hellsing Ultimate, Dragon Ball Z and all the filler arcs, etc, etc, etc. You see it a lot in shonen series. It happens much.
We will speak not of Naruto.
Yep, Naruto, Bleach, etc, etc.
Yes.
I noticed you didn't mention Sailor Moon Abridged. I have not watched the full episode yet because I want to sit down and watch it with my good friend Lillian, who is a Sailor Moon fan, because I feel that will be the best experience. I have seen some of it, and the only comment I have for what I've seen so far is I wish they'd given some of the jokes a tiny bit more room to breathe before moving on to the next one. That's not to say it's bad, and I haven't seen all of it to give a full look into it, but that's where I'm at the moment. Introspective has written a short Shoal Universe story. I did see it. I haven't read it yet. I have seen it. We do have that going on. We're going to talk about that and intentions for the rest of the year very shortly, and what will happen with that short story, among others. But congratulations, Introspective, and it's been lovely seeing you work with Ed. He's dropped it in the Shoal channel. It's gone up very recently.
Oh, when? I don't see it.
I'm sure I saw it in there. I will find it later and link it to you if we don't find it.
Human Roughneck Story.
That's the one.
Thank you. I thought it was a continuation. I glossed over it. I thought it was a continuation of the debate about the Roughneck Almo.
No, there's an actual story.
Which I do have a concept. I expect that by next week I'll have something of a model for it.
Something we can show that will be very, very cool and will be very useful when it comes time to read Introspective Story. We'll have a nice visual we can put on screen, which will be cool.
Yes. Cool. Time provides. It's a busy time of the year. And like I said, my own muse has been squeezing.
Doctor
But
Who says,
I
Red question. I need a starting shovel for my Titan story. Should I do it from the Titan's perspective as it grows, or as a therapy retrospective session? Do you mean a therapy session with the Titan, or a therapy session with the Titan's pilot? Because that will affect my answer. Yes, very helpful. Okay, so what I would say there, the Titan is on the couch. Okay, so it's the Titan either way. What I would say there is what you need to think about is what is your theme and message that you're aiming to get across to the reader. If what you're wanting to do is give them sort of the wonder and cool thing of this is a machine, but it's alive, but it's an artificial life form. It would never have existed without the engagement of the sapient species around it. And isn't that cool? And how has that affected the Titan? I would do it from the perspective of the Titan in the moment as it grows and what that growth means to the Titan. If, however, you want it to be more introspective on Titans have as complex a personality as a human, as what we're familiar with as readers, and that you want to look at how a machine that started from an artificial birth position but has now been through all of these things and needs that support for its ongoing story, especially as its lifespan doesn't work the same way as for a mortal creature, whether it's a Shoaly or a human. I would do it from the therapy couch because that will give you an easier way to explore those ideas. So I think your answer lies in what it is you want the audience to be most focused on. Look at us pretending we know what we're doing, and we're a professional stream of professional writers.
I will throw my hat in the ring and say that I would like to see a therapist struggling with the concept of what is a Titan and how the hell do I relate to that, because this is a whatever many tons of machine that doesn't even have the same concept of time, growth, and memory as I do. Yeah. How do I help?
It's one of the things I've liked about the more recent Godzilla movies. That I have a lot of opinions on Godzilla movies, and especially the more recent ones that have come out. Some of them I love, some of them aren't as good, and for varying different reasons. But one thing that I did like was that they had the Fallen Kingdom, where they brought in the concept of a kaiju dentist, and that was something that I really enjoyed, because for me Godzilla movies are popcorn flicks. I'm not trying to, I'm not expecting them to win grand storytelling awards. There's a couple of things I expect from a kaiju movie, and they're all you have to hear. Anything else you hear after that point is just bonus. So I did like the idea of there being a kaiju dentist who fixes King Kong's tooth, and then of course they did the right thing with that. It was Chekhov's gun. The tooth gets replaced at the beginning of the movie. By the end of the movie it's been used for a proper purpose. Excellent. Chekhov's giant monkey tooth. So yes, kaiju dentist. So if you watch Fallen Kingdom, you have King Kong getting sedated and having a tooth removed and replaced. It's wonderful. And I don't mind that movie. It's not the best of the newest movies. It's not bad either. There's some interesting stuff in it. So yeah, that's the thing. And yeah, the idea of a Titan therapist I do like as well. There's lots of things you could do with that, but I do think for Doctor Who's specific story it's going to be what is it that you want to really focus on with the audience, and that will tell you which way to tell the story.
Yep.
Alright,
that's a very good thing.
So I think what I'm going to do is start out by talking about plans for the rest of this year, how next year's going to open. Then we'll do a poll, and then we'll look at all of the writing and fun things we have to go over today. So, last week.
Let's do it.
Yeah, look at us. It's only 20 past the hour, and we're already, on a track and talking about useful things.
And I haven't had to yet. And someone said Helsinki, and we didn't go on a 3-hour tirade.
I need a medal. Can I please have a medal for that? Especially for the fact that I didn't go off on why Walter's character arc is brilliant.
Walter is my favorite character. If we will not stop right now, we will never stop. Moving on.
I
The
just want a
medal.
medal, that's all. Okay, so last week I set
Okay.
homework. Last
One
week's.
one moment. One
Go on.
moment. Med ducks. You have your orders. Search in the story.
Oh no! The mad quacker cometh.
He needs to design a medal. I'll help, and we will make sure it gets to you. Operation Medal. Go. Yes.
We need
now
to get Squick in
moving
here to
forward.
distract from progress for at least another hour. No, this is not the numeric workshop. We have to actually get things done here because writing is a hell of a lot slower than some other art forms. Last week,
Correct.
we set homework, and it's going to be ongoing homework. So the homework last week was, if you had an idea in your head, write a short story for Shoal, because we've got a robust enough setting at this point that that is a possible thing to do. And I know multiple people have either done so or are beginning to do so. We already have a short story in from Introspective, which is great. I know, Lictor, you're working on something. Doctor Who's working on something. Mad Ducks is working on something, which is wonderful as well.
I can
Gremos, you
read
have not failed me
the-
because the homework entry period is not yet over. You are fine. And 10k words is excellent. 10k words is roughly what we have in our novel at the moment when we get to it
10K
today.
words is not a,
not
it's
small.
it's starting to veer out on the short story part.
Cremo says, I've written 10k words. Not a single one is for Shoal, and they're across 4 different works in progress. Help. No, that's normal. I have like 9 books living in my head at the minute, and when the writing mood takes me, God only knows which one I'm going to go for. So this is normal. The fact you got 10k words out this week is fabulous and wonderful and good. Well done.
Yes, to all of the above.
So I know that Introspective has got his story out and is finished as it is at the in its current state. But for the other people I've just mentioned, they're still working, and of course there might be other people who want to work on something too. It's not like you can just churn a story out in 5 minutes. So what I'm thinking is that we'll keep talking about this every week, but we'll actually start compiling and reading the stories in January. Because in January will be our year anniversary of starting with a blank page. So I think it would be really nice to open January next year with where those blank pages have gotten to, not just in my hands or in the group hands here, but in the individual hands of people who followed the project along the way. So please do keep getting your short stories in. We'll start reviewing them in January, because next year I will have a lot more time to focus on all of the documents and output we want from Shoal, so that people can have a whole thing in their hands. It means I can start putting them into a file where you can go and read the individual stories and jump to the ones that you want nice and quickly. We can make it look pretty effectively. So that's what I want to do with that. So please, if you haven't got your short stories in, you've got plenty of time. If you want to write one, please do so. If you've already done one, well done, congratulations. We will be looking at them. I just think January is the right time to do it. So that's that part. Second part, we have this week where we will have a lot to review, because I did get quite a lot of work done based on everything that happened last week and our wonderful bullet points. So we've got that to go over. We'll then have next week with whatever happens between this week and then. The week after that is going to be December 26th, which is Boxing Day in the UK, day after Christmas. So basically,
It's Boxing Day.
Boxing Day it's what we call it in the UK. It's the day after Christmas. There'll be a massive sale going on in all the shops, and it used to be sort of a workman's holiday to go out and spend and etc. etc. It's just called Boxing Day. The historical reason why it's called that is contested, but it's a workman's holiday. Yeah, it's kind of like our Black Friday, before the UK just embraced, why don't we also have Black Friday and just steal from the Americans? So there's kind of both now, what with global trade being the way that it is.
Okay, this stream is also update Lecter about the world outside of his tiny hellhole.
Yes, it's important. International stuff is interesting. So yeah, we call it Boxing Day in the UK, and it's usually a day off from work. Most people won't be there. So Ralphie wants to pop in and tell a quick Black Friday story. Sure, Ralphie, hop on in, come and tell us your story, and then we'll talk about what we want to do on this stream on Boxing Day, because I have some thoughts, but we'll let Ralphie come and talk to us first.
Yes, Ralphie. Come in here.
Come and find us, Ralphie. Where are you, friend-shaped person? Oh, there he is.
Oh, right. There you go. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure it was. Is it giving me my bad microphone?
I don't know. I don't know what your different microphones sound like, I'm afraid. I'm very sorry.
This should be the better one. That's all right.
Yeah, that sounds better.
There we go. All right. So, some of my coworkers and I, we used to do what was called Blackout Friday, because we live in an area with a lot of, small microbreweries and distilleries and things like that.
Okay.
So we would start at one end of Central Avenue, where most of them are based, and we would go to each bar, distillery, whatever, and see how far we could get until we were just about to black out, and then call cabs and go home. And that's how we celebrate Black Friday. We called it Blackout Friday.
So you do a pub crawl.
Yes.
Introspective says 1 tequila, 2 tequila, 3 tequila floor. Yes.
Yeah. Actually, it got a lot better when the tequila place opened on the route. That made things so much more fun instead of all just horrible hoppy IPAs. But anyways, that's the story I wanted to tell today. I have to go check on my new pet snake.
Ooh, what is Snake's name?
Rue.
Rue, that is a lovely name. And what kind of snake?
Corn snake.
Corn snake. Oh, lovely. Please redeem pets for Rue, chat. Friendly Noodle.
Yes.
Friendly Noodle must be checked on.
Yes, friendly
Alrighty.
noodle, many pets.
But anyways, sorry, you were talking Black Friday, and I had to share the one story. If you're ever here during that time of year, we'll do it together. But where I live, it can be either like 70 degrees, 60 or 70 degrees Fahrenheit in a nice, brisk fall, fall day. Or sometimes we do it in the middle of a blizzard and it doesn't matter. We walk either way.
I would very much like to go walkies with you again, Ralphie. That was very fun when we passed through your neck of the woods last.
Yeah.
Sounds like
Anyways.
an amazing pub crawl.
You all have fun. Good luck with your writing today.
Thank you.
Love you all, and I'll talk to you later.
Love your face.
Bye.
Hey, ciao.
Okay, so Boxing Day. It's going to be December 26th. Christmas will be over. Lots of people will probably be on holiday. We can do a stream as normal. I have mentioned ongoing through the course of this entire year the Devil May Cry rant, because I am very passionate about that series and how it is secretly absolutely genius in how it utilizes characters, basic story points, unapologetic characterization and theme and setting. I have a lot to say about it, and we've touched on it in little snippets here and there across the entire year, but if we wanted to, we could book it in to just talk about Devil May Cry on Boxing Day.
I will play the game.
Aiden was potentially going to play it and have that going in the background because Aiden has thoughts, but if you want to, that is also completely fine, and we could do that.
I just kind of figured it is 75% off in Steam, so I just grabbed it.
Yes, it's very worth it. It's very, very... Which one are you looking at?
5.
5. Excellent. The most recent one. But yeah, all of them are good with the exception of 2. 2 is special.
I watched 4, I think. I think it was 4.
Yes, and then you're going to need to brace yourself, chat, if we do decide to do this on Boxing Day. I'm going to go off for at least 45 minutes on the genius that is Nero and the introduction of Nero and how they've used Nero and the development of Nero and Nero. Because I have thoughts, and they are long. They are long. I'm also really enjoying introspective quoting song lyrics from 3, which is very good. So we could do that on Boxing Day. We could do Devil May Cry. We could make this all about that. I know many people on this channel will have watched Super Chief play through the series. Or we could have a more normal writing focus stream. And we could decide that we could decide that we want to write lyrics for a song for the rewrite of Hungry Like the Wolf. Suggestions for the title from my book club have included things such as, do you want to fuck the Ilkhan? We could have a lot of fun with that as well. So we have some choices, and what I'm planning on doing, because I said I was going to discuss plans for next year, I've already mentioned that I'm planning on spending a lot more time producing end products for Shoal. I want to get the Hungry Like the Wolf rewrite done by April Fools.
For good reasons. It is a very foolish errand.
So yes, it's going to become a case of, do we want Christmas to be Devil May Cry focused and very relaxed and warm and talking about something that I really enjoy and have a lot of thoughts on, and video games as a storytelling medium? Or do we want to talk about terrible romance novels and write spoof songs? Because I think at some point in Hungry Like the Wolf we need to turn it into a songfic and get that joke in there at some point. So those are going to be our choices, I think.
Put it in the poll, and the question is, which of Lady Red's brain tumors do we want to excise first? This is what it boils down to, chat. We love Lady Red. We need to pull out her brain tumors. One of them is benign. One of them is vastly malevolent and is going to kill us.
Oh, poll is already active. Who threw that up?
I will let chat decide which is which.
Yes, we have 2 minutes to decide. I'm willing to do both. I'd love to get the DMC off of my chest because it will be cozy, but I'm absolutely fine with either. To Square says, I mean, if it involves fucking the Ilkhan over in the negative sense, then yes. So I'm currently reading Hungry Like the Wolf to my book club on Saturday evenings. We have currently worked our way through 9 chapters, and we have come to the decision that if this book was a better book, Chance Vickers, Alaric's Sarkhan, everything in this book will suddenly make sense if you approach it from the idea that Chance Vickers is trying to set it up so that Alaric gets killed without her having to specifically do it. Which, after she personally strangled Devlin Stone to death, or whatever the hell happened there, I can understand her wanting to keep her hands off. But we've been going through it with the idea that Chance is just trying to let him naturally get himself killed, and annoyingly he just keeps surviving. Because everyone in this book is stupid. Introspector says, I want my wacky woohoo pizza man. Yes, we will, of course, be talking about pizza if we do the Devil May Cry stream.
Yes. Pizza. I mean, again, like I said, this entire question is, which of the tumors are we excising first? And that is fine. We will get to both of them. Don't worry. We love Lady Red, and we want her healthy and her brain in the right place. Cool pizza and cool guys with impressive armature.
Introspective says, do you realize how hard it is to find competent DMC fan content creators? Wait till you've heard everything I have to say, because you might be like, well, that's it, I'm never talking to her again, she's wrong about everything.
Why is that a reason not to talk to you ever again?
I mean, some people can get very passionate about pizza mans.
Some people can get very passionate about everything. Hell, I had a small argument with Introspective, but that's fine. We do amazing stuff.
The funny thing is that Hungry Like the Wolf makes Alaric more human than any son of Catherine Steiner Davian and Vlad Ward should be able to be. So the thing is that he doesn't have any personality in the book, but As I've been reading back through it, this, in depth, this second time with my book club, there are moments where I almost like him, which is more than I can say for the heroine of the book. And the reason for that isn't because, he has these brilliant moments, or there's these little tiny insightful sections that happen where, he's saying something that I'm like, yeah, I'm on board with that. No, the reason why I sometimes like him is because his complete lack of personality is sometimes used to just shut the heroine down. And I like that. Anytime she is told to shut up is wonderful.
Please. Listen to the love. That is a good character.
Okay, so poll ended, and it seems like we are very strong of the opinion that we should do Devil May Cry on Boxing Day. So that is what we shall do, and then we'll continue building towards fun stuff with Hungry Like the Wolf for April Fools, and that will be fine.
Yes. Pizza Man.
Yes. Pizza Man and his brother and all sorts of things. I'm going to have to actually put some effort into pull stuff together because there's going to be things I want to show on screen. And I think I need to make an order to go through my thoughts in because otherwise I'll be all over the place.
Do I need to make chibi versions of all three of them?
If you'd like to, that would be wonderful. That would be absolutely wonderful.
I will see how many of them I can go through and chipify.
Yeah, if you can do Dante, Nero, and Virgil are like the main three. If you get time to do Lady and Trish, I'm not going to say no because they're both very important to the storyline. And just have fun. Do what you want to do. If you don't do any of it, that's fine too. We'll figure it out. But yeah, I need a talky outline. I need like a series of points in something approaching an order to ramble through. Otherwise, we will be all over the place.
Okay, I can do that.
Goob!
Yes.
Thank you, von Brummelstein. I appreciate it.
Provide Goob.
Yes, Goob is important. I have gone through my store from last year, and you guys are topping me back up to last into the spring, which is, help your local Roni today. Donate Goob. 74%. I know you are mad. Mad lad chat. I can't believe we've got this much Goob already. We are going to be done by mid-month. But on the upside, I'm halfway through the activity book. I finished another colouring page yesterday. And I have some more stuff in the works. So, it's coming along. It's going to be a fun time. It's going to be a very fun time. We've got the Christmas dump starting this month as well, coming up very soon. And there's some cool things in there. Everybody's been working hard. There is a video coming later on this month. The trailer is on the BPL YouTube channel. And I know a lot of people are excited for that. Having seen what's going on with that, you guys are not prepared in the best way. It's going to be amazing. The hard work people have been putting in. When you see it, you're going to be like, oh, that's why it took so long. And that's cool. I'm very excited for you guys to see what everyone's been working on, as I'm sure the entire rest of the team is. It's going to be so good. It's going to be a wonderful Christmas this year. We're going to head very strong into 2026. We're all going to continue to do cool things. But I'm proud of us in 2025, of all the work we've done on this stream in what has been a very hard year for many. So I'm proud of you, chat. You guys are amazing.
Yes.
We totally were not running a Goob distribution scam the other day. I mean, that sounds fine to me. What do you think? What do you think Sundays are? I'm definitely not siphoning any Goob that falls into the Goob hole options into my own personal account. I swear. All right.
That sounds truthful.
Yes. Yes. Always truthful. There's a reason I am trusted with the admin booth.
Yes. I had a very nice long chat with Ed.
Yeah.
Earlier, this week. Things are happening in the world building district. So, yeah, that's going to have to come up at some point as well.
Wonderful. I look forward to it.
Some long, hard work into it, and I really want to point it out. So they did introspective, both of them. Like, heads up. Good work, you two.
So that has been a thing this week, and it's that will start bringing us back round with another thing I wanted to talk about before we review our writing, and brings us back into Shoal. So we did have some inputs come in after last week, because of course we were working very hard on chapter 1 last week, and we started talking about Jake's diving suit, and we had some input from chat. And then afterwards, over in the Shoal discussion channel in the Orcs, that conversation continued with people who couldn't be here on stream also coming to weigh in. Oh god, why am I connecting to chat? Can you still hear me, Lictor?
Yes.
Okay, it's just Twitch doing a thing. Good. Twitch, don't do that. So the conversation continued over on Discord, and some more comments came in, some other ideas, and contesting about various things. And I think we are going to need to revisit how we want Jake's suit to work in terms of breathing underwater, to let more people have a little bit of an input and make the decisions that we want to make with regards to that. But it allowed me to do something that can be very important in writing, especially in communal writing, which was to take a step back, let all the ideas flow through, and think about, how do I solve this problem in the moment so that we can continue with the project? Because one of the hardest things that you can run into in writing is you'll be in your flow, you'll be trying to do something, and you hit some kind of stumbling block. If you're writing by yourself, it can be that you maybe hit a plot snag that you weren't expecting, or some element that's been introduced now that it's come back around because of other things that you've done, it no longer makes sense, or you need to add new weight to it, or you can't think your way past an unexpected hurdle that's turned up. And that can just smash you up against a hard wall and feel like there's no way around it. I have certainly, especially when I was a younger writer, had periods where I'm like, how do I solve this problem? How do I solve this problem without having to either rewrite stuff that I really love and I think needs to be here, or introduce a Deus Ex Machina to just, magically get my characters past this problem, or solve the issue. And it's a hurdle. It is a really big hurdle, and being able to sort of step back, think about things in different ways, approach other people to help you solve the problem in some cases is, it's a skill that you have to learn to utilize, and when to apply it, when not, when something needs to be just figured out by yourself, when it's time to go back and fix the mistake earlier in the book so that you don't have this problem later in the book. It's a balancing act, and it's one of the things that you get better at with time and experience. So what I did last week was I saw the extra input coming in, all of which I think is valuable, and I do think we've got a big discussion to have there. And I think the best way that we will resolve that discussion in a meaningful way that makes a lot of sense to all of the people that have contributed to this setting, rather than just going with one thing or the other, is we kind of need to look at the humans in more detail. And by that I mean looking at everything that Ed has written and having it available for everyone to look at once, which means the compendium needs to be filled in enough that human stuff is there, and we can have those conversations with all of the information in front of everybody. So that's not going to happen for a while. There is no way in the world I'm going to be able to get the compendium finished before the end of the year. I'm stuck with finite time. There are not enough hours in the day, and unfortunately Shoal is not my only commitment, even though there are days where I certainly wish that it was, because I love what we've done here. So what I did was I took a step back and thought about the problem from where we're actually sitting. We are currently writing a novel in its first draft. The focus of the novel is not how does human technology work. There's going to be a degree of we need to dig into that, but we don't have to get into the specifics immediately in chapter 1. We don't have to explain it in excruciating scientific detail, because it's not currently the point of the story. And it's also something that we haven't got to have in its final draft right now this second. We can come back and edit later. So my solution to the problem was to take a look at chapter 1, step back from being that detailed with Jake and his suit, and leave it so that it's just not even discussed at the moment, so that by the time we are ready to edit the book and we do have the compendium finished and we can look at all of those things and make an informed decision later on, we can then edit that section of chapter 1 to add in the details that we then know that we definitely want. So I'm not saying we're glossing over it because we're never going to touch on it. I feel like glossing it a little bit at the moment allows us to continue with the current project, so that once we circle back to it, what we're putting in is going to be something that we're much more comfortable with. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, with that in mind, it means I'm going to want to read to you guys what chapter 1 is currently looking like, and I did take everything else we discussed last week and carry it all the way through to finish where I think chapter 1 should end, and I've started into the beginning of chapter 2. We can have a look at that. You guys can let me know what you like, what you don't like, what we want to change, if we're happy with it, and we can go on from there, especially as I would really like this week for us to actually describe what Hordaka's Titan looks like and what Mags's Titan looks like. I don't want to make those decisions purely on my own. I very much want you guys to tell me what you think these mechs look like. And of course that will give us another project for next year, which is to draw these specific Titans to go into our compendium. So that's where I'm sitting at the moment with that.
Okay. Let's do it.
Sometimes it's almost like I know what I'm doing and I have ideas. But I do want to say that the thing that's most important from all of that babbling that I've just done is that the input of everybody is important. There is nothing that gets said about Shoal, whether it's here on stream or over in Discord, that just gets glossed over and ignored. Anything anybody wants to put into and talk about and explore with the setting, I do read all of it. I do pay attention to all of it, and we do try to give weight to all of it because this is a communal setting. There will be times where we have to make compromises, but when it's something like this where we thought we had an answer, but then additional community feedback from the group isn't as settled as we thought it was, it's worth coming back to, and that's something we can absolutely do. So please, if you have thoughts about Shoal, if there's something you want to add in or explore or talk about, the Discord is over there, and I absolutely pay attention to it. It's been active this whole year. It's the most busy thread in the writing section of the server, and you guys are always welcome. I love seeing the ideas that come out over there.
Just saying, most active by a wide margin.
Alrighty, so where do we want to go from here? Is there anything else? What is Hordaka's Titan's name? Let me take a look at our
Starts
notes.
as one thing and gets into
It
other
does
thing.
become another. You are right. So give me just a moment to bring up my notes, and we'll see if we gave his... Here we go. So at the moment, in the start of our story, its name is 00 Alpha Fellow Nick for short. That is his Titan's name. We do have a basic description, but moving into describing him in prose, that wasn't something I wanted to tackle purely on my own.
That is fair.
None of us is as dumb as all of us. Correct. Correct. Somebody got a proper Latin translation of that was checked by a Latin professor. If you want, I can go and find it, and we can have none of us is as dumb as all of us in proper Latin.
I can probably verify. Go ahead.
Okay, give me a minute to find it then. I'll need to do a little bit of scrolling. But by all means, I will find it. I believe it was... was it Storm Song who grabbed it from this channel? You know what? The easiest way is just going to be scroll. Okay, bear with me for a minute. This could take a bit. I'm on it.
Okay. We're good. Felonic. Felonic. Yeah.
What channel am I in? Am I even looking at the right thing? Yes.
I think it's non-Podland Titans are going to be decidedly less metal-based than the others.
There it is.
That est quam omnes nos. That doesn't sound right.
I'm going to copy and paste what I have into chat because Google is not correct.
Yeah.
It should be Nemo a nobis tam stultus quam omnes, is my understanding. Because Latin's weird about tenses.
It has declensions. It has other things in it.
So yes, this has been checked, and that should be the one I just posted in chat should be correct. None of us is as dumb as all of us.
Nemo nobis tam stulus quam omnes. Yep. Sounds about right.
Which, as a direct translation, is no one among us is as stupid as all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty.
Nemo nobis, no one among us. Tam stulus is stupid. Quam omnes, of all. That's the direct translation of the words.
Jake's AI name is Kilo.
Kilo.
Yes, Kilo. We have Kilo. Alrighty, so I think we're at the point now where if you guys are ready, I can move over to reading some of what we've already done, and then we can go from there. How do we feel about that? Is that a good plan?
Yep.
Alrighty, so
Back me up here.
let me click into the
Introspect
book.
with us.
So, things I would like you to know. If we take a look at where we're currently at, our prologue is just under 2,000 words. Chapter 1 is currently just under 5,000 words. Chapter 2 is 3,000 words.
Okay. We have chapter 3 already.
We have 10,000 words in this already, in just a couple of
Yes.
weeks of several hours. I'm very pleased with that. Very, very pleased with that. It will get cut down at some point because that's quite a lot for just a couple of chapters, but... Story time, everyone sit cross-legged in a circle. Okay, do you want me to read the entirety of chapter 1, or do you want me to just sort of pick up from where Jake is planning on suiting up? I'm assuming we've got mostly the same people as last time, and that will save us a little bit of time if I just start from where Jake is suiting up.
I'm with Doctor Who on that one. If there are changes,
Yeah, there are
We
some
should follow.
changes in chapter 1, but they basically cut in from that point. I don't think we need to read the entire beginning of the chapter.
cool.
Alright, let me scroll to where it would be best to start from.
All the way over there.
Yeah, I think we'll start from around here. Let me just have a quick drink.
Oh yeah. Wet the whistle.
So we are picking up after Umi has arrived at Jake's hab unit. He's come inside. They've been talking. Jake's been having coffee. Umi has gently ribbed him about not being competent in a very joking manner to show they have a good relationship. And they've been talking about the fact that they need to pack up and get ready to leave. And there's been a bit of discussion between Jake and Kilo about hab collapse and phrases to use, and that's basically where we're at now. Jake is getting ready to leave. We'll go from here. He looked once around the hab. The walls, shaded for his comfort, held the faint outlines of shelves and furniture nodes, custom bulges and recesses where he'd set things. A printed photo of 5 sunburned Earth grad students on a rooftop was tacked to a small ridge by his bunk. The only thing in here that wasn't backed up 3 different ways. Priya mid-laugh, Nate squinting at the camera, Professor Ames leaning on the railing, and leaning on the railing of San Diego Bay, all orange behind them. He'd been the one in the middle, holding the cheap beer, shouting something he didn't remember now. Priya had written on the back, "For when you finally follow the money off-world, you sell out. Send pictures of space fish." Jake had technically achieved the fish part. Priya just hadn't expected that they would talk. He popped the photo loose, slid it into a little pressure-safe sleeve inside his travel trunk, and closed the seal with a firm press. "Okay," he said. "Let me suit up in the pool. Then you can collapse us." Since arriving on Shoal some 7 months ago that felt like years, Jake had acclimated to spending most of his time in a NIS impulse suit. A skin plush onesie, it was not only simple and comfortable, but designed to interface with both his hab and his dive suit. It was so well designed for those purposes, in fact, that whenever it wasn't clipping him into his exosuit or bunk, it rode up in all the wrong places. His exosuit lurked in the moon pool room like a giant slumbering gorilla. Rounded and streamlined, it carried its weight evenly across limbs and chest and back to support his needs, despite operating in one of the least hospitable environments humans possibly could. It was also taller than him, each limb elongated from the human standard to allow for the actuators, mechanical muscle supports and manoeuvring jets needed for him to move with anything approaching reasonable speed at depth. That was the source of its gorilla stoop. The suit rested in its charging and purging cradle in such a way he could slide into it through the neck after stepping up on the single foothold moulded into the chest. He'd slipped no less than 15 times since learning to pilot the thing and had the shin scars to prove it. He could feel the intensity of Umi's gaze on his back as he checked the suit's readouts and prepared to slide in. Medical, waste, power and oxygen systems all read green, though he double-checked the actual numbers just to be sure. He could feel the edges of the pill's effects beginning to kick in, a faint warm easing in his body and thoughts ready for suit connection. Umi's presence was a slight worried tone at the back of his psionic perception. It seemed, like him, Umi was not entirely used to the process of a human suiting up. "Don't worry," Jake reassured him aloud. "I passed all my training courses for this. On the second try. I'm fine." Before he could second-guess his own poor humour, he stepped up onto the foothold so he could reach the open head of the suit and slid into the snug interior. As his legs and torso slid into place, gripped firmly but smoothly by the suit's interior muscles, he felt his impulse suit snag into all the correct hookups and settle around him like a comfortable blanket. That was the easy part. Once the systems registered his presence and began to spool up, the scary part came as all of his senses just turned off. There was a moment of drop. His senses blinked and then mercifully came back up before he could think about it, giving him direct input from his suit's sensor suite, as if it were all his own body. He was taller now, bigger and stronger. He flexed slowly, reminding himself of his new size and how to use it, and then he stepped out of the cradle. The suit settled around him, comfortable and strong, his new height bringing him eye level with Umi. The big laticle said nothing, but the set of his hands and the feel of his psionics sent an inquiry just as cleanly as if he'd spoken aloud. "I'm good," Jake said again, gesturing towards the glimmering surface of the pool that led into the ocean proper. "Shall we?" Umi's fingers flexed on all four hands, an approximation of a human nod. "As you wish," he said. "After you." Kilo pushed off the bulkhead and glided over, her magnets finding the hard point on the exosuit's left shoulder with a soft thunk. Status icons flashed green on Jake's HUD as her systems linked into his. "External sensor feed synced," she reported. "I will be monitoring your vitals and suit integrity. Please avoid doing anything impressively stupid." "I'll try to keep my stupidity modest," Jake said. He turned toward the pool. Up close, the water's surface looked like glass laid over darkness. The Moonpool Bay was small by station standards, just big enough for his suit and Umi to share it without getting elbowy, but the shaft below went down and down past the edge of his suit lights. His new feet felt heavy and precise against the ramp. Each step forward came with the faintest lag as the suit thought about it with him, then matched the impulse. His heart rate ticked up, bright dots on his HUD. Kilo pinged once in quiet acknowledgement but didn't say anything. He stepped off the edge. For a fraction of a second, gravity won. The suit dropped, weight yanking him down. Water surged up over his boots, his calves, his knees. It hit the sensors as a cold rush, and the suit's haptics translated it into touch. He felt it. Not on his skin, that was sealed snug inside the impulse layer, snugger than he liked, but through the suit's mapped nerves. Pressure on shins, cool flow around his fingers as he reflexively spread them, the tug of a current on his back. The translation was not perfect. It was a little too even, a little too smoothed out, like listening to the ocean through a very expensive set of headphones. The suit hummed, a soft thrum in his bones. Jets along his legs and back woke in low power, stabilizing his descent. Diagnostics scrolled across the bottom of his vision as he sank. External pressure, stable. Suit integrity, green. O2 mix, 98%, scrubbers nominal. Pulse, 92 BPM, within tolerance. Battery, 96%. Projected duration, 72 hours at current draw. Thrusters, all green. Attitude Assist online. NIS link secure. Everything reads nominal, Kilo confirmed, her voice riding the same soft warmth along his skull implant as before. At current expenditure, you have 3 days of charge before mobility and life support begin to degrade. Please do not test the upper limits of that estimate. 3 days is plenty, Jake murmured. We'll be able to charge within 24 hours. Humans say that, Kilo said, shortly before they get lost. The water closed over his shoulders, then the top of his helmet. Sound changed. Airborne hums and hab creaks faded, replaced by the muted omnidirectional hush of the ocean. Suit mics picked up the soft crackling of distant reef, the low groan of the city's main structure below him, the faint hiss of his own jets. He hung there a heartbeat, a big metal question mark just below the surface. Jake took a slow breath in, held it, then let it out. Not because he needed to, the suit would keep breathing for him if he passed out, but because it felt like the right way to greet the water. Then he looked down. Vertigo punched him in the gut. On Earth, down underwater meant sand, rock, maybe a trench if you were very unlucky. A floor, something that said bottom in definite terms. Shoal did not care about his expectations. Below him, Song Gorge sprawled. The city clung to the walls of a titanic rift in the seabed, its structures growing and arching along the vertical drop. Towers of coral and alloy spiralled downward in terraces and balconies, riddled with tunnels and open bays. Streets were not lines on a flat plain. They were currents threaded through forested stone, weaving between growths in 3 dimensions. Lines of biolight marked transit channels and civic arteries. Windows and door nodes glowed in soft blues and greens. Far below, the gorge narrowed and deepened, vanishing into shadow. Above, more structures curved up and over, some arcing like bridges, others jutting out into the open water like fingers. Up and down stopped meaning sky and ground. They became relative, toward the faint surface light far, far above, and down toward the deep hum of the coral roots at Song Gorge's ancestral core. His inner ear complained. The suit's balance systems quietly overrode it, smoothing the conflict. Wow, Jake said, because the part of his brain responsible for vocabulary had apparently decided to watch too. Shoal never stopped being breathtaking to him. Shapes moved through the water around the buildings, a constant traffic of life. Latical like Umi, longtails sculling with lazy power, harnesses gleaming with embedded biolights. Next to them, compact, many-armed cephalinids, their tentacles drawing looping paths as they swam in tight spirals, laughing pulses of psionic noise drifting off them like bubbles. A trio of the squid-like people drifted by in the middle distance, pale mantles flashing colours in complex patterns as they conversed. Across from where he hovered, Jake could also see the hulk of several crab-like ceratinoids standing sideways on the flat of a building, gesturing with claws larger than his head. Even the buildings participated in stealing his vocabulary. Bioluminescent veins ran through coral spires, pulsing gently in time with the reef's underlying psionic song. Signage glowed in stylized glyphs, some bright and sharp, others subtle and low, for those who read with more than eyes. Jake turned in place, slowly, letting the suit's jets nudge him into a slow spin. The data overlay told him exactly how far he'd rotated, how fast he was still moving, how close he was to scraping his left knee on one of the hab's support struts. It was all very useful. What held his attention, though, was the light. Shoal didn't do darkness. Even the shadows were full of small, patient stars. He might have stayed there, turning in amazement, if he hadn't felt the weight of attention. I think I need to add a section in there that I've missed out, because this is talking about bioluminescence and I haven't gone into it.
If we're already adding a note.
Yep.
This relates to the story I'm working on. But one of the things I'm trying to coin is a name for the psionic interaction between everyone on the show, actually. And the word I've chosen to use so far is mental. Like, you can feel the psionic mantle of other people, because it's kind of arcane enough to not be overbearing, and the use of psionic sounds out of place to me, particularly. I don't know what we've made polls on silence and other terms. I think we need a term that allows us to refer back to it to when someone is interacting with you sonically, and how these interactions are being made, because this is a part of language that's going to be reiterated upon a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like power level in Dragon Ball Z, or whatever, Chekhov or Naruto or any other such major part, because this is a serious part of what sets Shoal apart from humans,
Mm-hmm.
and not giving it a proper vocabulary to work with will become a problem. At least this is how I see the writing process. Like, if you want a vibe, you need to find the correct language and verbiage for it.
Yep. I'm not going to do a poll on that right now, simply because I know you're writing a thing. If you don't mind me having a look at that thing so I can see how you've used it, I think that will make for better poll options next week when we can make the decision what
I
we
will
want to
say
do.
What I have, yeah.
Yeah,
No
if that's
problem.
okay with you. Seeing as I'm on a
Absolutely.
pause, I'm going to catch up with chat. Doctor Who says, as a suggestion, as a reader from this point on, should not quite an emphasis on the translation delay. If we allude to it from now on, but stop making it a point to call out every time. Yeah, I mean, obviously we're rereading stuff we read last week. Some things have been cut from some sections, so basically what we've got in the story at the moment is when they first start talking, there's a discussion about the slight translation delay there. We've also got the one with the suit here, but you're right, the translation delay for speech shouldn't come back in at this point. So that would be an editing note to tighten up on. I think that's a good input there. We only need to mention there's a delay once and then trust that the audience knows what they need to know. What else do we have from chat? Did we drop the fluid breathing idea or just the description? For now, Silicon Soul, we've dropped the description because what we're going to do is we're going to fill out the compendium early next year so that we can all sit with all of the information Ed's written about human society in the current, setting. So that we can all look at that together and come up with a decision on what we want these things to be like, that more people get to weigh in on than did last week, and we can be a little bit more comfortable as a community with where we're going with that. So at the moment we've kind of glossed over it a little bit, but we will come back to this chapter to add in the details that we need to once we have a proper opportunity to fully dive into humans in setting and make sure that we are comfortable with what we're doing, because there was quite a lot of feedback even after stream last week on that topic. So
Yeah. People feel strongly about it, and frankly, with the amount of work Ed and introspective is put into it, I think it's very reasonable to just say, okay, it's not that important that we have to nail it down right now.
yeah, this was a concept that people felt quite passionate about, so it's something that needs to be explored fully, but we don't want that exploration and time constraints right now to stop us from continuing our project. So we've got a little bit of glossing at the moment that we'll come back to in the editing phase or in the second draft phase. So that's where we're at with that. Okay, let's carry on here.
I will just say that
Go on.
I will just say there is research ongoing into it. Expect more tribulations in chat. But more on that later.
That's part of the fun,
Back to
is
the fun.
finding that happy middle ground when you have a communal group. You get lots more ideas poured in when there's lots of you, but you sometimes have to mediate some of those ideas to find a consensus. And that's normal, and that's fine, and that's fun. All right, let's carry on reading, because we got a lot to get through.
Yep.
Jake might have stayed there, turning in quiet amazement if he hadn't felt the weight of attention. It started as a prickle at the back of his neck. Then his psionic sense, such as it was, picked up the change in the local background static. Shoaly minds brushed his awareness like passing currents. Most days they were just there, the steady emotional weather of a city. Curiosity, mild annoyance, hunger, the hazy contentment of someone on a break. He'd learned to ignore it the way that he ignored station air filters. Now, though, the currents focused. Threads of attention turned toward him. Not just from one direction, but from all around. Above, below, out along the walls. A ripple of, "Oh," passed through the water, wordless but distinct. As was always the case whenever he headed out into general shoaly society, he had been noticed. And here, he was the alien. Songgorge's residents were all psionically present in their own ways. Their minds hummed in the reef's frequency range, bright or dim. Even their tools and constructs tended to carry choral echoes, alive enough to ping back when you brushed them. Jake's suit was a big, moving void by comparison. It had sensors and processors and a battery grown partly from coral stock, but its mental signature was vacant. His own psionics were a candle behind blackout curtains, absolutely anathema in both the suit's shape and very presence to Shoal's locals, no matter where he went. Umi, he said quietly, how do you want to handle the locals? I am on it, Umi said. The counsellor glided into view on Jake's right, having slipped into the pool with a grace Jake could only envy. Freed from the hab's air, Umi's gill slits pulsed in the water, broad tails sweeping once and holding him steady. Jake's HUD tagged him automatically. Umi Minaseo, Library Counsellor, Latical. Vital signs, calm. They are only curious, Umi went on after the translator finished chewing his clicks. So let me bold this so I know to come back and look at it, because we are hammering on the same point. Doctor Who is right. Or rather, they feel you not feeling. An empty shape that moves is interesting. We are used to this now, yes? Jake nodded. A half-dozen latical hung in the water nearby, watching. A group of younger snail-like podlands had clustered closer to the mouth of a side tunnel, eye ridges raised, shells swaying. The crabs had ceased gesticulating. Further away, across the gorge, a little knot of biolights had stalled mid-transit, like a traffic jam where the spectacle was him. If they come closer, do not panic, Umi said, a ripple of quiet humour brushing Jake's thoughts. They have the same impulse as your surface people when something new appears. They will want to touch. I'm in a several-ton metal shell, Jake said. They can knock themselves out on it. They will try to knock themselves into you, Umi said. That is different. The movement around them swelled. A pair of adolescent latical, narrower shoulders, fins still bearing pale juvenile markings, pushed off from a balcony and arrowed towards Jake in a burst of enthusiasm. Before they got within arm's reach, the texture of the water changed. Umi didn't move much. He slid a half-length closer to Jake, his lower hands opening, fingertips brushing the currents. His psionics flared, not sharp, but broad. The onrushing adolescents slowed in response, bending to Umi's psionic request for calm. They peeled off, arcing around Jake instead of straight in, their curiosity diffused into a loose circle. Others followed the same pattern. They came close enough to see, to gawk, to whisper pulse to their friends, but some undercurrent tugged them away from actually swarming. You are not on display, Umi said. You are on expedition. They can watch from appropriate distance. Jake let out a breath he hadn't realised he'd been holding. Thanks. It is easier to discourage them now than to extract you from a ball of children later, Umi said. I don't know, Kilo said. From an anthropological standpoint, being swarmed by local juveniles would produce interesting data. From an alive standpoint, Jake said, I'd like to keep my joints. Noted, Kilo said. Umi tilted his head, gills flaring as he tasted the currents. We have a short time before the Titans reach this level, he said. Long enough to show you something. First, however, your hab. Right, Jake glanced up. Directly above, the underside of the hab module showed as a pale bulge against the darker coral towers above. His hab was attached to the side of the Port Authority, a small protrusion on the greater hull. Begin collapse on my mark, Jake said. Kilo? Standing by, Kilo said. Hab Unit Ward 17-3 is already flagged. Voice confirmation required. He took one more look at where he'd been living for the past few days. It didn't look like home from out here. It looked like a tumour on a living wall. It was also the only air pocket within swimming distance. Do it, he said, forcing himself not to think lizard thoughts about his own safety. Confirming, begin hab collapse, Kilo said. 10-minute sequence. Air pocket will be released at non-disruptive rate per Songgorge environmental standards. Flat box will be ready for pickup presently. On his HUD, a timer started counting down from 10. Jake watched the familiar shape of his hab begin to fold in on itself. Walls retracted, edges smoothed. A narrow plume of tiny bubbles slipped free as the compressed air found its way out. No roaring geyser, just a slow, steady curtain of silver beads spiralling upwards towards the distant surface. They drifted past him, glinting in the glow of the city lights. He reached out automatically. One brushed the suit's knuckles and collapsed with a soft, tactile pop. "Goodbye, bad mattress," he muttered. "For now." "Goodbye 37 unfiled forms on your desk node," Kilo said. "I archived them." Jake decided not to ask where. Umi watched the bubble stream for a moment, then flicked his tail, turning neatly in the water. "Come," he said. "Songorge is awake. There is a dispute. Better you see how we argue before you hear about it sideways." "Argue?" Jake said. "Is this like a council meeting, or—" The warmth in his skull shifted. A hint of sharpened focus, anticipation. "Not even close," Umi said. The translation lagged, then offered, "It is something you should see. It will mean more than if I describe it." I'm going to leave that mention of translation in there because I think it's important in this that what Umi's trying to describe doesn't make sense. So something lesser is being offered. "All right," Jake said. "I trust you. Lead the way." Umi nodded and pushed off. Jake flexed his suit's hands, then kicked. The jets along his calves and spine answered, ramping up with a soft, comforting thrum. Vector markers bloomed on his HUD, little arrows showing where his momentum was about to carry him into an outcrop if he wasn't careful. He followed Umi. They drifted away from the station wall, out over the open throat of Songorge. The city fell away below them in tiers and arcs. Ahead, the water thickened with light. At first, Jake thought he was seeing another cluster of transit traffic. Then the pattern resolved. A sphere of Shoal's people hung in the water, midway between two major terraces. They formed a loose ball in 3 dimensions, bodies spaced out, all facing inward. Latical, cephalonids, podlands, even a few shark-toothed archaea. Biolights flickered along their harnesses and mantles, casting the interior of the sphere in shifting colour. They weren't moving like commuters. They were holding position. In the space at the centre, 2 figures circled each other. Jake could not see them clearly yet. He detected only flashes of motion, arcs of pale skin or dark carapace, the gleam of metal. The ambient psionic noise in the water spiked, a sharp, eager buzz that made his implant tingle. He slowed, letting the jets bleed off speed, and found himself hanging at the edge of the crowd. Shoaly near him glanced over, their curiosity flaring for a heartbeat, before Umi's push slid between them and him, smoothing their attention away again. Jake watched, transfixed, as one of the central figures darted forward, a blur of motion, and the sphere around them flared with a collective intake of psionic breath. Later, he'd learn the names for the patterns, the rules, the social weight of it all. For now, all he could do was stare into the glowing heart of the crowd and realise that on Shoal, some disagreements were settled by conflict. And no Shoaly fought in any way like anything Jake had ever seen before. That is where I have ended chapter 1, because it ends with sort of a not a cliffhanger, but an incentive to find out what happens next. I didn't want to go straight into the disturbance at the marketplace because I felt it was a good leading line to lead us to the next thing. Let's see what chat's saying. Whew. Have we said that his primitive human psionics is why he's here on Shoal? We haven't said specifically that that's why he's here, but we have noted that he has it. I think that's why he's here is something that needs to come up once we have the whole team gather together and Jabra has been added, because this expedition is already en route. It's something that I think would need to be explained to the new person being introduced to the team, which is Jabra, and it would fit more naturally there. So we're not trying to over exposition in chapter 1. Night Owl has come back with Tonkatsu. I am jealous. I'm liking how Kilo is showing more of a personality. Yes, I feel like she's sort of a little wry mothering figure on his shoulder.
That's what we said they should be, so...
I'm a little surprised the suit doesn't have diving fins. We haven't said definitively that it doesn't. Again, I think the final design of the suit and how, you know, descriptive words we want to use for it is something we need to come back to when the compendium is more complete, and that will be an early next year thing, because these chapters are all going to get edited, so this is fine. There's discussions of should the heir be recaptured. It's then going to be a case of, well, where are we putting it in the meantime? We'll have that discussion when we discuss the human tech and come back to this. Wilf says, so it's a dance-off. Someone's about to get served. Possibly.
It could definitely be a dance-off. It's just going to involve harpoons. Have you seen the Addams Family dance-off?
I don't know if I have, but the Addams Family having a dance-off sounds wonderful, and I need to see this.
No, in the movie they have the sword.
Oh, yes, of course. It's been a long time since I've seen it. You're right, yes.
they have a name for it, which is a riff-off, but essentially a surely dance in a very peculiar way. Sometimes very sharp things get stabbed into other people. And it confuses humans, because in most human dance-offs, you do not stab your partner. Surely have passionate ways to show what they think. And more teeth than most humans.
Yes. Well, good news, inverted commas, question mark. I have written the next few bits. I've got a few thousand words in the next chapter that I'm very keen for chat to see, and we can obviously edit, we can change things. This is just based on my interpretation of our bullet points we came to. But before we do that, I am going to get up very briefly and use the restroom, and then when I come back I can read any notes you guys have on chapter 1's current state, with the exception of discussing how the human technology is working. We're going to come back to that. Just the overall content of Chapter 1, anything you guys think needs changing, adding, etc., we can make some notes. When I come back, we'll then move into Chapter 2. I will be back in just a minute. So you're in charge, Lichter. Have fun.
Hello, everyone. What do you want to be in charge with me? Let me see what you're saying. So wait, can't we read how the monsters have gone? Have a go at the suits. Yeah. You are so quiet. Yes, I have a family, and it's near midnight where I am. So I am quiet, yes. I find it to be an excellent situation to be in, to be honest. So I can build ahead and put me on blast. I promise. I will not be offended. Lichter, the god of whisper, will come. Okay, I will talk very close to my microphone. Can you hear me?
You
I
know
will
what
push
I
up the
might
gain.
need to do? I might need to turn you up, because I turned
Better.
Discord down a bit while Ralphie was with us, because Ralphie was quite loud. So I can also turn you up on my end. I will do that.
Amazing. Yay! People will hear my voice.
That should now be better. Lichter should be a lot clearer now.
I'm a lot better.
That is more better. Good, I am glad. Sorry about that, chat. Here, I'll leave you with Lichter. You're not allowed to hear him. Alright, did we have any feedback on anything else from Chapter 1? I can see Doctor Who seems content with generally where we're at. Okay, we seem to be good. So with that in mind, I'm going to have a sip of my drink and we will move on to Chapter 2. And good lord, there's 47 of you here.
Yes,
Why are you here? My goodness. Oh, Doctor Who has a suggestion. Please, let me have your suggestion while I have a drink.
Yes. Suggestulate.
What do we have? Leviathan Kaiju battle? I mean, that's coming later. That's definitely going to happen. There's more than that here. Mum says hi, by the way. Hi, Mum Gothrop. How are you? Why are we here? Because it's the best place to be. Well, I'm glad you think so, Wilf. It genuinely makes my heart glad to see so many people turning out for writing on a Friday afternoon. It is my favourite thing in the whole wide world is writing and being able to share that with other people. Not just in terms of here I wrote this and you might like it, but in terms of here I want to make a cool thing and I really want you guys to help me with it and be part of it, and we all get to play in an infinite sandbox together. It makes me very happy. So I'm very glad you guys are here. I desire feedback. You will absolutely get feedback. I cannot give it right now while I'm on stream, but we are definitely going to read your story, Introspective. And I'm really glad to hear that you and Ed and Lichter have all been thick as thieves working on things, which is great. Should we have a note about how graceful Umi's movement is in the water compared to his kind of deliberate slithering into the ham? I did make a very brief mention of it, but we could expand that thought. Absolutely. Mum Gothrop is playing Power World, moving base, so she's in architect mode. Power World is very fun. I do enjoy that. Oh, Corbin is offering feedback. If you want to read what Introspective has written and feedback, Corbin, it's over in the Discord server. And frankly, he's never going to admit to this, but if there is one person that I would always like to have read over my work and give me some feedback, it is Corbin. Corbin hides and pretends he is not a top tier writer, but he absolutely is. And he picks up things that I miss at various times, so he is a wonderful resource. You can read. You are not too unga-bunga for reading. I will batter you over the head with a Fraid. We beat that habit out of you years ago. You can read just fine. Caveman grunt of dispute. Yeah. Corbin is good writer, and I'm pleased to have you here with this nonsense as well. Right, chapter 2. Let us read where we're at with chapter 2, which I have clicked down to, so some of you have probably already started reading it. I think that's come up on stream. Yes, it has. Good. Right, we will now read it aloud in my stupid British voice. Here we go. Chapter 2. From the edge of the crowd, Jake finally got a clear look at the fighters. One was a latical, long and lean even by their standards. Where Umi's body was a broad, heavy coil built for long patrols and hauling gear, this one's tail was a whip slim and sinuous, patterned in dark stripes that flashed as he moved. Let's put that in so I stop thinking about it. His upper torso was bare but for a light harness and a single coral pendant at his throat, arms corded with muscle that flowed into 4 webbed hands. The other was a cephalonid, all pale mantle and trailing arms. His halo of tentacles was tucked close now instead of flared in full display. Biolights along his skin pulsed in a quick staccato as he pivoted and feinted, the faint shimmer of chromatophores shifting from soft blue to sharp white when he struck. They circled in 3 dimensions, not around a floor but around an invisible centre point. No ropes, no ring, just the sphere of watching bodies hanging in the water, all facing in, leaving a clear space like the pupil in an eye. The latical flicked his tail, darting in on a diagonal that would have been above if there'd been such a thing. The cephalonid twisted mid-water, letting the rush pass under his mantle, then snapped 2 longer arms out to hook the latical's shoulder and jaw. Jake winced, and then blinked. The cephalonid could have driven the latical's head back hard enough to strain the neck. Instead, his grip checked a fraction of a second short of that. The muscles in his arms went slack. The latical halted, held, the line of his spine curved in a position that screamed compromise without actually hurting him. 1, the latical said, voice carrying cleanly through the water and the translator in Jake's suit. The cephalonid released him and pushed away, putting a body length of space between them again. A little ripple of psionic approval fluttered through the cloud. Not cheers, more like a communal tick mark. The point was taken, acknowledged. The latical rolled his shoulders once, making sure nothing was strained, then tucked his arms close. He dropped, tail coiling. The cephalonid followed, their bodies spiralling around each other around a vertical axis, depth and angle constantly shifting. They clashed again. This time, the latical got his hands on one of the cephalonid's main arms and used his own tail, looping it around the mantle with a snap Jake could feel in the water. He pulled, not hard enough to tear, but enough that the cephalonid's limb locked straight and his centre of mass tipped. The cephalonid whipped 2 secondary arms up, stopping the spiral into something harder, but he was off balance. For half a heartbeat, his mantle was bared, control gone, his eyes squeezing shut against the instinct to flinch. He tapped the laticle's wrist once with a free tentacle. 1, he said. They broke apart. Jake frowned. Are they? Counting, Umi said quietly beside him. The counsellor's psionic tone was a calm undertow under the sharper noise of the crowd. Each time one could hurt the other, but does not, the almost wounded counts. It marks the point. That pin could have gone badly for a human, Kilo observed in his implant. Shoulder dislocation, neck strain, possible concussion. But they pulled it, Jake murmured. Yes, Umi's gills pulsed in a slow, approving rhythm. They fight to the edge of damage and then stop. Skill, control, that is what is valued here, not broken arms. Out in the circle, the dance continued. They closed, broke, closed again. Bodies knotting and unknotting in patterns Jake's brain tried to map into wrestling holds and failed. The lack of gravity in the extra limbs wrecked every metaphor he reached for. There was no down, no turnbuckle, no mat. Just leverage, centre lines, and an intimate knowledge of how joints wanted to move and all the ways that they really didn't. A cephalonid arm snared 2 of the laticle's hands, spun him, and drove his tail towards a jut of rock. The impact never landed. The cephalonid checked the motion with a brutal-looking counter-twist that would have hyperextended a knee on a human. The laticle hissed, flexed once against the hold, and then tapped the tentacle holding him. 5, he said. Jake realised he'd missed a couple of exchanges, too caught up in watching the flow. How are they keeping track? He asked. They just remember how many times they almost got wrecked? Yes, Umi said. It is not hard. Almost pain is very memorable. There was a quick sparkle of humour in Jake's skull. They also have witnesses. The crowd's attention was razor sharp. Minds leaned inward as much as bodies did. Each time one of the fighters called a number, Jake felt the agreement ripple outward. Yes, that counted. The cephalonid took a point. The laticle took one back. The counts climbed. 6, the cephalonid said on a failed sweep that left his mantle exposed. 7, the laticle gasped when a cluster of tentacles turned his own grip into a near wrench of his wrist. Jake licked dry lips. The whole thing had a strange, formal elegance, like watching 2 people argue with their bodies instead of their mouths. What happens at 10? He asked. 10 near hurts, Umi said. You have proven that you could have harmed them badly many times. That is enough to make your point. Any more, and someone stops pulling. A faint, dark tide moved under the words, the impression of real damage, of blood-clouded water. And now we have beagles yelling, "Excuse you! Please no!" The city populace prefer to end before that. Jake watched the laticle lunge and get slid sideways along a cephalonid tentacle instead of impaled on the spine of a nearby support strut. Do people ever lie? He asked. Pretend something didn't count or argue about whether it should? The question earned him the peculiar sensation of half a dozen eyes flicking his way from the near crowd, like fish twitching in a net. Umi's attention, though, stayed on the fight. Sometimes, Umi said, in deeper disputes, or with certain personalities. The translator hunted for a word and produced, after a beat, idiots. Underneath, Jake caught the psionic flavour of it. Frustration, old annoyance, affection for a problem so familiar it had worn its own grooves in the song. But Songgorge has a well-established history, culture and place, Umi went on. The Sholi here live stacked on top of each other in a crack in the world. If you become known as someone who fights the points instead of fighting to your strength, everyone sees. Today, tomorrow, next week, they remember. When you want partners for trade, or allies for real battle, or a rider to share a Titan berth... His lower hands made a dismissive ripple. Who will come? You have shown you care more for winning on a sound than on your skill. Jake glanced around the hovering sphere of onlookers. So, part of the reason everyone's here is to keep each other honest? That, Umi said, and because fighting is interesting. A little pulse of amusement. We are not so different from your people. Jake let that settle. Out in the circle, the fighters were breathing harder now, or whatever passed for it. The laticle's gills flared wide between exchanges. The cephalonid's mantle pulsed faster, chromatophores flickering in short, sharp bursts. 7, the cephalonid spat, releasing a hold on the laticle's jaw. 8, the laticle echoed 2 exchanges later as a tentacle slid across the sensitive frills at the base of his neck and stopped just short of a nerve pinch. Close, Kilo said. I calculate this bout has a 72% chance of reaching... Kilo, Jake said under his breath. Let them have drama. As you wish, she said, although he could feel her logging everything. The crowd's psionic noise rose in pitch as the numbers climbed. Anticipation tasted like bubbles popping on his skin, sharp, effervescent, leaning towards something. What are they fighting about anyway? Jake asked. You said this one wasn't a war, just a disagreement. Umi was quiet for a few heartbeats. Jake felt him weigh the question, his attention split between the fighters and the human at his side, like a musician playing 2 tempos at once. They argued about you, Umi said at last. Jake's stomach did an unpleasant little flip. Me? 8, the cephalonid said in the circle, conceding another near twist of his main arm. Umi continued as if the count was just punctuation. They were trading stories about the first time they saw you, riding a suit that ignores the song. Jake grimaced at that phrasing. Shoal's song was to the Shoalie what air was to humans. Basic, fundamental, necessary. A communal sound made by the coral of the very planet itself, that measured the pace of the stars, the hours, the very health of the ocean world ecosystem. All Shoalie were psionic. Humans, and their machines, were very much not. One of them owns a shard of Temp's coral, Umi said. He wished to ask you for a memory. Jake blinked, then blinked again as the implications slotted in. Memories were not nearly so ephemeral on Shoal as on Earth. Coral, with its psionic crystals, could record memories as easily as a camera took a photograph. It just stored a lot more information of a given moment. You touched the Temps, just a small piece of living coral tuned for storage, and pushed. A snapshot of a moment or a memory or a thought copied into the shard like heat pouring through a bone. Later, anyone who held that Temps and let their mind brush it could feel the echo. Sights, sounds, the wet emotional weight of it. Filtered through the original owner's perceptions, of course, but vivid, tangible. For humans, a photo caught light off your face. For Shoalie, a memory shard caught the you of the instant. They wanted me for a first impression selfie, Jake said weakly. Yes, Umi said. He thought it would be a good story to keep. The day the alien came to Songgorge. The words came back from the translator a shade slower, like it had to think about alien in this context. A small shard, nothing sacred. He would not add you to his family core or to his death branch or a grand library archive, just his own collection. And the other guy? Jake asked. In there, the laticle. Umi flicked a hand at the circling fighters. He believes it is improper, wasteful, to use even simple Temps for something so trivial as spotting an alien for the first time. More, he does not like the idea of letting outside thoughts into good coral, even a small piece. 8, the laticle grunted, releasing a cephalonid tentacle he could easily have wrenched. Jake watched them split again, pulse ticking. So, one of them wants to ask me to record a memory, he said slowly, and the other think that's rude and sacrilegious. Yes, Umi said. They argued in a tavern, then in a transit channel, then on a ridge. They got loud. A faint flavour of exasperation. It was safer to bring it here than to let it ferment. Jake scrubbed a hand over his face, forgetting for a second that his hand was a steel gauntlet and getting a ding off his own helmet for his trouble. The idea, in theory, didn't bother him. He'd had his picture taken 1,000 times back on Earth. At graduations, at conferences. At that one time his college team had made it to a national symposium and someone had insisted on a group shot with the cheap trophy. In human terms, this is like someone wanting a picture with the weird off-world scientist, he said. Mildly embarrassing, but fine. Maybe cute. But you're telling me it's like engraving me onto their heirloom silverware. Closer to adding you to a scrapbook they keep under their sleeping platform, Kilo offered. Sentimental value, with optional future blackmail. Your metaphors are unhelpful, Jake told her. He imagined it anyway. The feeling of his mind pressing into the Temps, the little jolt as the shard took the imprint. Some Shoalie stranger keeping that chip on a shelf, occasionally touching it to relive meeting the alien. If he said yes, he was saying, I'm fine being a footnote in your personal mythos. And whatever you do with this shard in the future, including selling it for a lot of money or plugging it into a much larger cultural node. If he said no, he was, what, gatekeeping their own cultural tools? Backing the more conservative argument? He replayed Umi's explanation about dishonour and points in his head and applied it sideways. He did not want to be the reason some poor, memory-hungry cephalonid got branded as the guy who tried to ruin Coral with alien thoughts. He also did not want to be the imported curiosity who blundered in and set a precedent everyone else would have to live with going forward. His chest tightened in a way that had nothing to do with pressure. I am, he said finally, extremely underqualified to decide how your people should use your memory, Coral. You would not be deciding that, Umi said. You would only be deciding whether to give him a memory. Which would be taken, Jake said, as a data point in the ongoing argument about whether aliens should go into temps at all. Silence hummed between them for a second. In the centre of the sphere, the fighters clashed again. The cephalonid locked two arms around the Latical's midsection, pulled him into a tight roll, and came out of it with one of the Latical's shoulders pinned across a protruding growth. The Latical tapped twice. 9, he said. The crowd's psychic focus sharpened, like the drop before a wave breaks. You're thinking like a good student, Umi said at last. The warmth in Jake's skull shifted, tinged with unmistakable amusement. This is why the library accepted you. Cyrus, do you mind? Not because you walk lightly. 3 of his hands made a gesture that meant, roughly, you are large and clumsy, do not flatter yourself, but because you try to. I would like to not wreck the ethical ecosystem before breakfast, Jake muttered. Then we let this fight end without you in it, Umi said simply. Jake looked at him. How? Umi's gaze flicked up and down the gorge, then returned to the fighters. They are not fighting over the answer, he said. They are fighting over the right to ask. Whichever wins will feel justified in coming to you. But only if you are here. Down in the ring, the cephalonid surged, arms flaring. The Latical whipped his tail around the cephalonid's midsection in a desperate counter, nearly catching one of his eyes on a spur of coral before checking the motion at the last second. The cephalonid's mantle twisted. 9, he said, a little ragged. They are almost done, Umi said. If we stay, the winner will swim straight to you while his blood is still hot and his pride louder than his sense. If we go now, by the time he finds you again, he will have had time to think, to cool, to ask with more care, or not at all. The idea of quietly ducking a cultural flashpoint felt cowardly for a second. Then Jake pictured being immediately used as the trophy in someone's argument in a bar. Leaving is a valid choice in an argument, Umi added, gentle, catching the shape of Jake's hesitation as easily as he'd caught the curious adolescence earlier. Remember that. We do not forbid him to ask. We simply ensure you are not ambushed by his need. Jake's shoulders loosened. All right, he said. Let's give them space to finish without an audience of one very nervous alien. Good, Umi said. He drifted backwards away from the sphere. Jake engaged his jets and followed. The pressure of attention around them shifted again. Some minds tracking Umi's retreat, a few lingering on Jake, most snapping back to the near climax of the bout. Jake glanced back once. Anka, that does not help. She has scrolled all the way up. Get down. Oh my goodness. Anka says hello, chat. Jake glanced back once. In the centre, the fighters closed for what might be the last time. Their limbs tangled into something that looked, to his earth-trained eye, less like a duel and more like a particularly aggressive hug. He saw the moment when the Latical could have driven an elbow into the cephalonid's mantle hard enough to stun him, and the moment when the cephalonid could have crushed delicate gill frills in his grip. Both stopped. Barely. 10, they said together, almost overlapping. The shong around them flared. The song. Sharp joy, satisfaction, the psychic equivalent of applause, and then smoothed out into something quieter as the crowd began to drift apart, little knots of Sholey already replaying the best moments to each other in bright-edged bursts of memory share. Jake turned his gaze downward. In the deep of the gorge, something moved. At first it was just a change in the light, a dimming where there shouldn't have been. The bioluminescent veins along the lower terraces flicked, adjusting. Tiny motes of plankton and debris shifted direction, drawn by new currents. Then the song changed. It rolled up from below, not in Umi's warm personal pulse or the chattering buzz of the onlookers, but as a low, layered chord that made Jake's teeth ache. His suit's diagnostics pinged a subtle gravitational variance. Microcurrents altered, turning their faces, as much as currents could have faces, towards the approaching mass. "Ah," Umi said. "Our titans are on time." Jake's HUD lit up with alerts he'd asked Kilo to set weeks ago and then half forgotten about. Massive object approaching. Vector, up gorge. Speed, control descent. Estimated count, 2. From the depths, 2 silhouettes resolved. Immense shapes lifting themselves out of the lower shadows, slow and deliberate, each movement sending soft shockwaves through the water. Even at this distance, they were impossible to mistake for terrain. No natural outcropping moved with that kind of self-contained purpose. It was not the first time Jake had seen titans. Nor was it the first time he had even seen these particular 2. Nevertheless, nothing that big, moving that elegantly, approaching with the sheer presence of a giant thinking being, could ever fail to take one's breath away. The titans climbed, up out of the gorge's throat, coming to meet the waiting city. And that was where I stopped, because now we need to describe them, and that's something that chat should definitely be involved in. Let's see what chat has to say and how you guys are feeling.
I'm sorry, me and Ed got into a discussion about cities.
I hope I wasn't boring you too much.
No, it is an excellent piece of writing. I am struggling with the way psionic impressions are being made.
Okay.
I already made that point earlier, and I think, and I'm going to need to delve into this before
So
I'm
is
happy.
it the way they're being used or the terminology being used to describe it, or both?
I dislike the ubiquity of the word song and the ubiquity of the word psionic.
So terminology. We need to work on our terminology.
It's more about terminology.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they are pushing emotions left, right, and center is very good.
Okay.
I expected Jake to have a more muted perception of it. He is very sharp. It is excellent to color the scene and skip a lot of visual details.
The way I was thinking about it is because he's in a large crowd where he's feeling all of them, you know, as a sort of conglomerate, he would probably read it quite clearly. Not necessarily speak it clearly, but he can read it. And I was thinking once we have them with less characters around him, it becomes, harder for him to pass, was what I was thinking.
I think, and maybe that's a note, and again, this is my GM brain working here, not necessarily the storyteller. I would think that Sholey have a rather tight rein on where the psionic energy is going, and they should be hard to read until you're very good at it.
Yeah, or unless they're thinking directly at you. Though even in Jake's case, that would still be...
Now, the corollary is these guys are excited. They're not afraid to show it. They want to show it. And you've put it forward in an excellent... it's an excellent situation in which they surely use this dissemination of information as part of their culture, the entire fight scene and keeping each other honest. That was an excellent use for where they are actively projecting because of what they're doing.
Yeah.
But I wanted to put a point on it that if a Sholey is just going from point A to point E, they are not broadcasting their emotions.
Yes, they're going to be very quiet. Yep.
And it just like you're not walking down the street and screaming whatever you're feeling to anyone who might watch.
You mean to
Yes,
say
and
you don't
also
walk to your local store going, I'm hungry, I'm hungry, I'm hungry, I'm hungry? You don't do that?
a
Just me?
no, no, a very perceptive person might actually intuit some of it, but they have to be focused and everything. What I what I will say that if Jake is going around and observing, he will notice that they are there and they are closed off
Hmm.
as a matter of habit, not as a matter of um it's not a standoffish disposition. It's again, the same reason you're not screaming it at the top of your lungs.
Yeah.
Uh, also, back to vocabulary and terminology, I like to interplay the words resonance and song
Hmm.
because resonance is a more primal word, and I think that song is the Sholi, what we would translate from Sholi when they're talking about the entire something, and resonance is what happens locally.
Okay.
Like this thing has a resonance, the resonance in the air is shifting, but when they're talking about, choral as a thing, they're talking about the song of the choral. It's like it's a it's
Yeah.
that vast thing that
We might want to
everybody's
play with things like the local choir.
the local choir,
Yeah.
the resonance.
We'll have a
the,
sit down
the
and have a chat about how we
yeah.
want to use the wordage, and then if we get something together that makes sense, we can then present it to chat next week and vote on it and change any bits as people think is necessary. I think it would be good if we came in with a framework for chat to work on instead of just trying to do it raw now. But no, I'm completely on board with we need to broaden the way that we're using our descriptive words, because the word psionic turns up a lot in our 10,000 words so far. So I do agree. Girls, the girls have
The
decided
girls
they
also
must.
agree.
The girls are now having a ritualized duel. Apparently, I should not read
Okay.
to them. They get ideas. Can we not wrestle in the
Uh,
living room, please? Pip.
Okay.
These may sound like very distressed beagle noises. They are not. These are beagle thronggle noises. They are desperately trying to imitate Hausercar and just wrestle the crap out of each other. Hello, Anka. Why don't you stay here with me for a bit? Come and say hello to chat. Wilf says I must pet you. Can I pet you? I can pet you. Oh, lovely. Chill out. Too many beans. No, no, no. You're not running off after your mother. Forget it. No. 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 I'm not going to be able to do anything with chat while you're sitting like this, though. This is a problem.
However, Wilf and Orc Slayers have redeemed pets, so
Oh, Orc Slayers also says I must pet you. Come here. I'm going to smooch.
yes.
Mwah! I smooched that pooch. I smooched that pooch.
So,
You are petting Pip.
Polychromatic
Wonderful.
got
Oh, more
Polychromatic
pets.
also redeemed
More
pets.
pets. Give me these flippity floopity ears. Let me have them happy slappers. Happity
The Night
slappities.
Owl also. Wilf. Okay, Ed
Okay.
as well.
The flippity floopers are getting floppitied. Oh God, there she
Very
goes.
good.
There she goes, and it's back to wrestling with Mother. And now,
Very good.
they are now murdering Aiden. Excellent. We have done wonderful work here. Good job, chat.
Wonderful. Aiden is being about this.
That was my clavicle, sir.
Humans have two hands and all nature creatures love the pets. Yes.
As I can see Ed expounding on Cetus.
Yes.
I like Doctor Who's suggestion with Hordaka and Jabra. If we can fit it in, because if it works with the pacing in the story when they have their little spat, I think that would be a really good call, is to cycle back. So we've seen this fight here in the marketplace. We've used it as an...
And then they're just looking at each other, Songo Jules, and they're like, yes. It's like that
Yeah.
callback.
And then they go a bit too
whatever book.
far, and yeah, it's a wonderful callback to something earlier in the story, which is tightening our narrative, tightening our theming. But I did have a lot of fun writing this week in between sessions. And what was cool and fun was when we were doing our bullet points. Let me bring our bullet points up so we remember what it was that I've been working from. So Act 1 here, and our note for this is that there would be a disruption outside. Jake gets into his suit, follows after Umi to see what's up. Disruption could be because of Jake's presence, maybe someone taking a photo. We then said that it was going to be a ritual duel, and then that they were going to leave. And that was basically the notes that we had, which aren't the world's most detailed, because they didn't need to be. But once I got to the point where I was sitting working on prose for this, to be able to present to you all this week, my brain was going, okay, so we're going to have this disruption in the marketplace. We decided that it could, be about Jake's presence, because, of course, he's an alien that's here, etc. What would be worth fighting over? What element can I bring in as to why this fight is happening that doesn't take over the scene and become what this is all about? How do we sort of tie this back into exploring Jake's mentality, Umi as a character? How do I take this element that we have and make it something meaningful? And the answer, because of our excellent world building, was immediately obvious, is they needed to be fighting over something ethical to do with Jake's presence here, but that wasn't too horrendously weighty. And so that's what brought in the idea of somebody wants to take a memory photo, a temps recording, and somebody else has an ethical quandary with that. And this is an area of culture and the like that hasn't been settled yet. And so we get to see Jake being concerned about disrupting the ethical ecosystem, which is something that was a sort of foreshadow of the fact that later on we'll talk about his devastation at having affected the ecosystem, the physical ecosystem of a coral reef back when he was a student on Earth, because we have that in his backstory. So this is like sort of a little foreshadowing of his ethics that will make more sense when we talk about why he thinks that way. So that was kind of fun to bring in. And of course it gives the Shoaly some depth. It talks about the concept of it wouldn't be ripping a memory from Jake's head. It's a memory photo, a temps recording. And gives us sort of an idea of how the Shoaly work, and that they have as complex problems as we do. Things that are sort of moral grey areas where, well, what is the right answer and why is it the right answer? Is this actually a problem? Is it not? And both sides could be correct, both sides could be wrong, and it hasn't been settled yet. So it made our good world building and understanding of how the Shoaly work and all of their culture and everything we spent a year doing made answering this question really easy when I got to it. Like, how do I make this have the appropriate weight? I use this bit of world building that we came up with, and we build up from there. So hopefully, that wasn't too boring of a read. There's still, oh my goodness, almost 50 of you here, so I assume it wasn't too horrendous.
It was excellent. I have to say, I just adore how Umi is dismissive of the entire thing.
Yes.
He's like, oh yeah, no, I've been through this. I know. Yeah, we have an hour left.
We do. We've got things to do in that hour. Pip, shut up. Pip, excuse you. Thank you.
The level of I've been here, I have the experience. Don't worry, I've got it solved.
Yeah, and of course that gives us a look into Umi as well. Is Umi doesn't put any weight in this this debate, particularly because Umi's just like, we just don't have to deal with it. We can just leave, bro. We can just leave.
Exactly. It just pushes forth the narrative that Umi has this complete control over a situation.
Yes.
That the complete opposite. It's a wonderful foil for Jax. I must say, Jake feels very young in this, and I think it should be a bullet point for later to show off that he's more than the incompetent.
Yes. I mean, I wanted him to come in here in this sort of early section with him feeling that out of his depth, unsure, etc. Because, of course, we're introducing people to an alien world where the reader's going to be out of their depth and unsure. But yes, we absolutely need to have, as he links up with the expedition and they start talking, technical terms to start seeing his, no, actually this dude, he is on the ball, it's just within his niche.
Exactly. Yeah, okay.
Maybe 30 is the new 20, 1,000 years into the future. That's entirely possible, but even still, we will show off some more of Jake's competence as we go on. But I think we've been playing the right line for the opening to a book in terms of what we want to deliver to the audience so they can understand where we're at. So there's something else that I did with this that I want to talk about because in some ways it's almost like I've gone against something I've said in the past, and I'd like to talk about that a little bit. Before we start describing our Titans and adding in chat's wonderful input for this week. So, Chapter 2 is... let me bring this up. Chapter 2 specifically is 3,000 odd words long. It opens with a fight starting, and after 3,000 words, the fight is over and the Titans are arriving. That is a lot of words for a single fight, and I've said many, many times in the past that when you're writing a fight scene, the fight scene should take roughly the same amount of time to read as it actually takes in real life. It's taken us like, what, half an hour, 40 minutes to read this section? This fight obviously didn't take that long. So why have I done this? Why have I broken that rule? Very simple. The reason I have done this and broken that rule is because the characters that we're following, we're very close with Jake, we're following Jake in third person close. They aren't the ones fighting. They are the ones observing, and so the meter of the fight, the pace of it, the desperation of it isn't there because none of our characters that we're following are actually engaged in it. There's no threat to them, so we don't need that quick pace. What the point of this scene is at the current time is to look at Jake's internal thoughts and to give them the space that they need, because the outcome of the fight isn't important, the risk of the fight isn't important, it's there to be watched, so we can take the time to watch it. If Jake was one of the combatants, this scene would be completely different in many ways for many reasons. Bully Snake sums it up excellently. It's because this scene is not about the fight, but understanding why the fight is happening. So that is why I have broken that rule.
Scenery. The fight is the scenery.
Yes.
It's a tapestry on which we are telling the story.
Yes.
Not the point.
Yes, not the key plot moment in this given moment. But yeah, if one of our main characters that we were close with was fighting, no way would I go into this amount of detail. So that's why I have done that, and there you go. There is your... I'm totally a real writer, honest, and know what I'm talking about moment of the stream. Alrighty, so for this chapter to continue and for us to carry on moving on through our Act 1 bullet points and expectations, the next thing that we need to do is introduce our Titans. Now, for Jake, he's seen Titans before, but they're still awe-inspiring. For Umi, Titans are part of his normal life. He works for a library. He might not pilot anymore, but he used to pilot. He's around Titans. He knows what they are. They're not special. For our audience, however, this is their first introduction to the unique and special thing of our show setting. The reason why this setting even exists. So we need to make sure we give them a good description and that we bring in all the elements that we think should be here for introducing these two very different Titans. Their presence, their job role, their pilots, if we decide that we need to see the pilots at this point, or whether we just see the Titans themselves, whether both speak or only the Titans speak or only the pilots, whatever we want to do. This is the first look our audience gets at Titans in motion. What elements do we want to bring in here? What do we want these Titans to look like? And this will break up everything that's going on around them. So for now, I just want to focus on the visuals, any psionic sense and words that we want to include, all sorts of stuff along those lines. Let me bring up Hordaka so we can see the notes we have for his Titan. And then I think I'll also bring up Mags as well, and I'll make notes on a separate page and then copy paste them into here so you guys can see both sets of notes at once.
That sounds great.
There we go.
If I am allowed,
Yes.
one, I think it's going to be an interesting way to go about it. If we let Jake go on his little bumbly ways a little longer and or subvert it, but essentially have Kilo turn his eyes and says, okay, look at that. This is, according to the library we were given, this is this, that, and the other thing. And he's like, okay, but the library never said anything about that. Like, give Jake a moment to take in the vista with it, and also maybe how other characters react to it. That is literary stuff. How do they look?
So at the moment I have it set up that Jake has already met these Titans before, so he's seen them before, but we could change that and maybe have this be his first look at the Titans. He's maybe only met the pilots before. We have that option. It'll be up to chat and etc. to make that decision. We're not having Integra, Fairbrook, Wingates, Helsing, the Library Titan. Out, Verith Ragnar.
I'm sorry. We cannot do that, Dave.
Alright, Doctor Who has an idea that there should be a little psionic wave from the Titans, or one of the Titans, different from the pilot, saying clear the landing area. That would be cool. Yeah, so I think that would be a cool thing to have in. Hordaka's Tide Warden.
No, actually, Mags.
Oh, you want Mags
Titan?
to do it? You want Echo?
Echo is a powerful psionic Titan, and him just doing the light bending thing, the optical bending, it would be a moment where we can show that the psionic thing is not just a cool way to describe emotions. Like, you're looking at something and there's a photonic blast just announcing move to everyone. Because if a Titan, and Magnus's Titan is huge and used to being awarded the space it needs, it doesn't slither into a spot. It takes a spot and settles there. It's not a young Titan.
Yes.
Neither is it. Again, it's an old Temple Titan. This thing doesn't ask you to move. It just tells you move, and then if you didn't, that's kind of on you.
Yes. Bully Snake says the equivalent of a backup alarm on a large truck. Polychromatic Goth Drop says, move your squishy bits or get stomped on.
Precisely. And that warning is not in a screamy, loudy voice. It's in a
clear, commanding tone.
barrage.
Yeah.
It's in a photonic barrage. So that's a thought.
Okay.
So that's a thought. As to how they look like, the non-potent Titans should use metals sparingly.
We have plenty of coral amalgams and the like to coat things, so that's fine.
Hordaka is a ceratinoid design, if I recall.
Yes, so if we look at our notes, Felonic, or Nick for short, is an upright, bipedal, streamlined ceratinoid form. I think what we did was we took a look at one of the mech designs I did, and people quite liked that one for Hordaka's Titan. If you give me a minute, I will bring up my mech designs and show the one in question.
Please
I will edit this wonderful battery picture that you did to show the mechs. Do I have them saved here or are they elsewhere? Where did I save them? Nobody knows. Okay, it's probably in sketches.
There we go. Eric has just stumbled on the correct idea. Wait a minute. Brett did some excellent work before. Can't we just use her?
I am looking for it. I don't know where I hid it is the problem.
That's okay.
Where would I
We
put
have,
it?
we have a modicum of patience. We know how patience looks like, and we sometimes kick it in the shins for shits and giggles.
Okay, I'm gonna leave the battery up for a minute. I might need to do a fresh save of stuff.
So a ceratinoid medium titan.
Aha! There it is. I found it. Right, now let's edit this. Then we can look at the thing.
Yes.
I hid it somewhere I would never find it, chat. Right on my goddamn desktop.
Of course.
It's not in the show folder where
Nice.
it should be. Okay, so I'm not going to bother resizing all of this. We just need this dude in the middle. So, this crabby boy between our nautiloid and our sort of stompy bipedal human-like suit, that crabby boy is what I think we decided we quite liked, though we did say that we wanted to give him 4 arms, and that one only has 2. Let's see what chat is saying. Do we also have sketches and titans? Yep, we have those. If you've labelled the file control F, yeah, they would not that simple. Not with the drives I've got. No one ever expects the desktop. No, I certainly didn't. So this was what we were looking at the time we were originally talking about this. People really liked the crab mech. I think he needs indeed 2 more normal arms underneath his main ones that have more dexterous manipulators on the end effectors. So we might need to do that, give him some more arms, but we did say in our write-up that he had 4 arms, so we can do that. So yeah, we had 2 smaller arms for dexterous work, 2 larger for supporting combat armatures, and he also has 4 deployable mechadendrites for holding things that can extend from the chest chassis. So I guess that the question is, do we like this overall body plan and shape? Or do we want to do something completely unique? Doctor Who would like to see the others. Let me zoom this. You can see all of them.
I think Mag's Titan is very much like the one at the bottom left from the ceratinoid, the essentially jellyfish.
Yeah, I was thinking, so this is in my own head, and I knew I wasn't settled on it or happy with it, and it was one of the reasons I wanted to talk to Chad about this. I've had in my head that the Library Titan is quite sort of blocky and boxy, similar to how Benny is, or the bottom row leftmost mech on here, but that was just because I had in my head the idea of libraries as a building and knowing that we need to have a bay that we can pass specimens into to be processed. That's just purely being practical from where I'm sitting as a real person. Nothing says it has to be that way. We can absolutely go for the jellyfish. There's nothing stopping that from having space inside it to process samples, and with all those tendrils, that would work. Obviously, when I was sketching these mechs, I had something specific in mind, and for me, that jellyfish mech was going to be a information relay hub. But there's nothing saying it has to be that way. So it's really what you guys want to do and what your thoughts are.
To illustrate my thoughts about the ceratinoid mech, the ceratinoid titan, Nick is a squat thing standing. I don't even know how big these things are. That's a question we need to answer. But it's a squat thing moving on top of bifurcated legs and has bifurcated digitigrade legs held together by overlapping closely matched sheets of armor suits of armor and causing tremors wherever it goes. Every motion sending reverberations through the water. It is it's a stampede when it walks, and it's a tide when it swims.
Okay.
It has a streamlined. It has streamlines painted all across it. No matter the method of locomotion, it is built to move through the water while offering surprisingly small resistance. However, the weight of it and the enormous presence it projects around it is almost equal in shock value as the weapons and the crass brutality that the arms possess, especially the large pincer hands.
Yeah, I mean, we've given this one large pincer hands because this was just me sketching before we decided any of this, but there's nothing saying it has to be those hands on Hordaka's specific one. We could change them out for other things. The legs being a bit different.
I think that Hordaka's, again, somewhat basic ceratinoid make does actually call for very industrial and somewhat overbuilt design, which Hordaka can tinker and engineer with and bring that to the fore.
Let's see what chat is saying. Doctor Who
Yes.
says he imagines Nick looks like a large hunched suit of armour with the coral visible through the ceramic metallic plates, which emulate a ceratinoid's carapace. Head cockpit set deep in the large shoulders, a la 40k orcs. Polychromatic Gothdrop says Maybury Library Titans aren't a class of their own, but a life path they choose that comes with additional upgrades to the life they choose once awakened. I suspect that it's going to be a little bit of both. Some Library Titans, I imagine, were commissioned specifically to be Library Titans to a specific blueprint that is just known to be useful, but the other Titans become Library Titans as part of their life cycle as things happen to them. So I imagine we can have both, and of course Echo could be either. I don't think we have notes saying that Echo was necessarily always a Library Titan. We'll check in a minute. Mech arms can also presumably be replaced in the mech bay. Yeah, I mean, if we're going to be making mechs, the concept of having the ability to replace certain elements and having like different end effectors or different weapon loadouts that fit on the same chassis is just going to be a normal part of, yes, these are machines that we use consistently. You don't need to reinvent the wheel from the ground up every time. Let's do one mech at a time and decide where we want to be.
That mechs, these are not computers. These are not this is not Battletech, and these are not Omnimex.
No, we don't need to go
Change the
Omni-Mech
arms.
far enough, but it should be a case of if you've got, you know...
One moment.
Okay, go on.
I actually have a point. The paragons of Titans are people, and they remember things kind of like how Coral does.
Mm-hmm.
They need to learn to use the new appendages.
Yes.
And how to sync them with their pilots. So when you
Yes.
do that, it is like installing a new cybernetic, and this is not a computer. They don't have that human thing where you just plug it in and it automatically knows Kung Fu.
Yes.
No, it's Coral. It has to learn everything at its own pace. Once it learned to do a thing, it will remember it forever.
Yeah, but it can't
But
just
everything-
instantly hot swap to something it's never used before and immediately know what it's doing. Yeah, no, I completely agree with that.
So Okay, so that's just one point I wanted to put on the table.
Wilf asks a good question. How much control do the Sholey have when making a Titan brain? Do they get to choose a personality that will probably be inclined towards being a librarian, or do they roll the dice and sort what comes out? I feel like they have a rough idea of like the band that a personality will fall into based on what they do, but of course there's no guarantee, and it's like with people and animals and the like. If you breed, say, dogs with good temperament with dogs with good temperament, and you bring them up in a good temperament household, you're probably going to get a dog with a good temperament. But sometimes you don't. And sometimes it goes the other way around. So I think they have a way of sort of guiding things in the general direction of where they think things want to go to. But of course, there's always the space for surprise, and sentience/sapience isn't a simple formula, just like it is for us. There's always going to be that variance in it that can come out in all sorts of ways.
It's an organic. And like I keep repeating in every conversation I have with Ed, these things do not exist in binary. You can't lock it down.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so we need to figure out what we're going to do one Titan at a time. So let's start with Hordaka's Titan Echo. Are we all okay with him being a ceratinoid? The Titan will be ceratinoid derivative. It will be crab-like. Yes, from Doctor Who. Let's see what else chat says. We'll give you guys a few moments to weigh in. Are we good with a crabby boy mech? Introspective naturally says crab battle. Yes. Okay, I'm presuming we're pretty much going to be okay with his basic design. We decided he was ceratinoid, he's bipedal, 4 arms, deployable mechadendrites. Are we good with all of that?
How does it swim?
We'll get to that. One thing at a time. I like the jet shark over there. Okay.
I think we're good.
Well, remember, Hordaka is not a ceratinoid. Hordaka himself is a latical, if I remember correctly. Let me double check.
Correct.
But Hordaka is a
Hordaka
latical.
is
His
a-
mech is
Hordaka
a
is a latical.
ceratinoid form. Yeah. Yes, he is.
It is to illustrate that the ceratinoids provide most of the introduction, most of the common designs, which I'm sure Introspective would gladly elaborate about the industry behind it.
Okay, let's have a look. Nick was forged by ceratinoids. Okay, so we seem to be okay so far. So the next note that we had was that the cockpit should be entirely enclosed and reinforced. Sensory input comes purely from connection to the Titan's sensory suite. As a Tide Warden,
Correct.
I think that's still correct, and we should go with that. The next bit underneath was he has a combat claw, which can be a shield on one of his large arms. His other arm has a shred launcher built onto it with ammunition stored inside the arm's armoured bulk. He has a 4-shot torpedo rack on one shoulder, and he also carries an oscillating shriek spear weapon on his back for deployment. So this design that we're looking at, the top middle, would need some tweaks to meet our description, but I think is pretty much in line with what we were originally thinking. So I think it just needs tweaking a bit. We give him his shoulder mount, we adjust one of the arms a little bit, we make sure that the second set of arms goes on, and that we add the ports for the mechadendrite arms, and we'll be pretty good from that base form that we're talking about there. Okay, I think we're good on that. And I think height-wise, so you know those massive industrial transport machines that you get on like quarry sites, where the tires, like the bottom is a human being is like the size of less than the radius of a tire. I'm thinking like that scale. So Hordaka standing next to his mech would probably come up to its mid-shin?
Let me...
Or is that too tall?
Let's see.
Doctor Who says he feels like 5-ish to 10-ish meters.
1 moment.
You think too
Let
tall?
me
Okay.
find-
Maybe the Library Titan's a bit bigger, and Hordaka's Tide
think that-
Warden. Because admittedly, the Tide Warden is supposed to be a patrolling unit. It's not a dedicated Leviathan hunter.
Specifications. Tiles. Yeah. I'm trying to body.
The launcher arm needs a gripper for holding the spear. Yes, yeah, I will have to do some editing work. These are living beings. Yes, yes, these are living beings. They are artificially created, but they are very much alive once they are created. Hill trucks be dummy big, but so is the industrial needs that spawn them. Yes. Hordaka shouldn't need to duck to walk between his mech's legs, but
Okay,
it should be close. Okay, that's an interesting way of putting it, yeah.
So a massive cat mining truck is roughly 20 feet.
Okay.
And with a maximum of it can get a bit taller, but 20 feet or so, 6 meters tall, kind of. It can get 6, maybe 8 meters tall, which is plenty big. It is taller than most tanks by a good margin. It's not going to kick tanks with its legs, but it's very big, and it is very much giant.
So you're thinking
You
how
can
many
put it on.
meters?
I think between 6 and 8.
Okay.
That is between. It's roughly 2 stories tall. Depends on how old your construction is.
So that'll be about 26 foot. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, I'm on board with that. I can see that. I am on board with
and
that.
that's a medium weight class.
Yeah, because
it's
he's
a-
not a
it's a
Leviathan
gi-
hunter, but he's not also an itty bitty baby mech. He's not one of the small ones. Okay.
No, it's not a sharkling.
We'll work with that. If it doesn't end up working, it's something we can edit later. You know, if we get into a scenario where it being that big is a problem, and then we can go back and edit. But for now, okay, so we know he is 26 foot tall / 8 meters. Oh my goodness, Anka is really upset she is being restricted to the office. Oh, now Pip's going as well. For reference, according to Battletech specs, a Commando light mech is 8 to 9 meters tall. Yeah, but we're going to
Okay.
have light mechs that are smaller than what Battletech has as light mechs because
Yeah.
operational necessity. Okay, yeah, I'm happy with this. I am happy with this. So we know roughly what size he is. So he's going to be like a small building coming up out of the Merc to join
exactly.
what's going on.
Which is kind of what we wanted.
Now we need to deal with the library mech. So let me read the
The
notes
li-
that we have so far. We decided originally that Echo, the library mech, hang on, I've put the wrong notes against the wrong thing. This is not for Echo, this is for Nick. Looks like sketch crab mech needs adjustments to match
We're at
character.
75% goob.
My god, chat. Thank you. Please continue stuffing my goop hole. I really need it. All right, Echo. 50 X-ray Mentum Echo. Echo is a large mech with spaces in its chassis for storage. It is a heavy, slow swimmer mech, can attach large jet peripherals for endurance travel. Modified model heavy industrial research mech. So it should have a little bit of an industrial feel to it. Omni-cargo adaptable pattern. This particular one has a modified hold for Temp's coral collection and stabilization, a secondary hold for other artifacts or materials. It also has a modified rear cockpit storage well for databanks. It is a research server mobile library mech. It is an awakened field library principle, old and well defined in mental patterns. It has a low center of gravity. We originally said it would be whale-like as it was commissioned in Sulea, or Sulean even. It has a modular extremities, and for all Echo doesn't change its modules often, it has the modules it needs to do its specific job. The capacity is there, as its model is a very adaptive one overall. This kind of mech is not uncommon and used in many fields. Do we still want to go with that, or do we want to make Echo something a bit more refined and specialised?
I really think it could be cool to have.
Let me see the notes in the meantime.
Do you, in the new XCOM, the newest XCOM actually, there's the ball thing that opens up with tentacles from the inside.
Oh, the cyber disc?
Not the cyber disc, the orb.
Oh
thing.
god, you mean the newest new one? What is it, a Sentinel? XCOM 2 enemies, because this is going to bug me now. And if Aiden didn't have the door shut, I'd just yell at him. I know what you mean, and it's brain. Which is it? Where is it? Gatekeeper, yes. Floating orb full of psionic abilities. Can mind control zombies and cause AoE psionic damage.
And a bunch of tentacles from the inside. Wouldn't it be cool if this thing would have a heavy shot armored carapace, almost like a nautiloid, all around it, and it will have tentacles going out and reaching for things, while smaller, not copies of itself, but same themed after additions, operate around it in a Sulayan, in a Salation mode of operation, echoing the Susella.
We did say we wanted it to have deployable drones that work like Susella, because it comes from Sulayan. So this brings us back to sort of the jellyfish design that I had, because if we're going to have it having bays underneath it can feed things into, having that flat bottom that will be where cargo hatches are that the tentacles can lift things up into might be wise. But give it that sort of Nautilus, perhaps, curve up on the top.
Mm-hmm. That would be both unique and would also, again, the vast distinction between Salation and Ceratinoid design.
Okay. So we start with that sort of jellyfish mech base, and we just iterate upon it a bit, add some more Salatian touches to it. And so when it's in travel mode with all of its tentacles and tendrils pulled in, it's smaller, but once it actually deploys its appendages, it gives it a sort of a much larger blueprint in the area that it's taking up.
Yeah, it does. It really does. And also it's surrounded by its standards. It's like you're not approached by a titan, you're approached by a school of titans. Like the main body itself should be at least as large as the entirety of Ordaka's Nick.
Okay, so the main body is about the same size as Nick, but the attached.
And the thing is, the entire size of Nick includes the appendages.
Mm-hmm.
In the case of Echo, this entire size is just the body. I am not counting the extended appendages.
Yeah, so okay.
Which would add at least again that size.
Okay, so Echo's main body is about 26 foot like Nick. However, Echo takes up more space when accounting for deployed tendrils and deployed Sucella-like drone additions, or if its sample bladders are, I'm going to use the word bladders, but they could be solid, they could be containers, we'll figure that out when it becomes important, or its sample bladders are full and thus adhered externally to the outer hull instead of inside the interior processing bay. So this means that as the expedition goes on, Echo just gets bigger. Echo starts the smallest she gonna be the whole way through. She big by the end. And then she dies because, you know, we have fun times over here on Shoal. Nothing bad ever happens here.
Well, Echo doesn't die. Echo joins in.
Yes, yeah. Echo's frame dies. Echo's personality does not. It becomes something else.
That's the fun part about
Yes,
Coral.
yes. We get to do all kinds of fun things.
What?
Ah,
Yeah,
yes.
shit.
That was some other notes that we had. Echo likes to complain a lot, but it's affable complaining, and has a mark on her chassis that says "Home is where the sci-fi is."
Yes.
I don't know who was responsible for that pun, but how dare you? It got me again. You didn't even have to do anything this time.
It's wonderful. I love it.
All right, so we'll have to do some descriptors of the mechs arriving, and then we can continue on with our chapter 2. And that might be something that I sort of work on between now and next week, and then we'll refine it together as a group.
Hey, Cookie Mama's here.
Hey, Cookie, how you doing?
Hello.
All right, so my projection at the minute is that we are going to see our Titans arriving, dispersing the group before, you know, the general audience, before anything can happen. Jake speaking to our other characters for their initial introductions, and then they're going to leave to go and meet up with the Gleamwake. So at the end of this will basically be them leaving the outskirts of Song Gorge as a group. We get to see how the group travels basically by hooking onto the larger Titans, which can move faster, heading off to meet up with the Gleamwake migratory fleet. Chapter 3 will then open with them meeting the migratory fleet, and we get to have our chapter where they are above water. We can talk a little bit more about Shoal. Benny is on the migratory fleet, and we can have a little bit of a moment there. We get to start getting some of our sort of interplay of who likes who and who doesn't, where trust is falling. And of course chapter 3 will be where Hordaka gets to just nerd out over Titans at Jake, and they start to build their bond together. I think that's roughly where we're at the minute, and that feels correct. That feels cozy and nice.
Yep.
All right, so it is a little bit
How
early.
may we help?
I'm thinking we maybe don't go too much farther this week, because admittedly my brain is beginning to dribble out my ears a little bit. It's been a very busy week. I'm kind of on my end of year crunch to get things finished so that I can have the calm, Shoal focused year I want to have next year. So my brain is trying to dribble out of my ears, but I think we've done some good work. I'm happy with what we've decided as a group on how the mechs will look as they come up. Is there anything else you want to discuss this week, chat, before we get out of here? And it doesn't have to be Shoal related. It can be anything writing related if you would like. I just don't think I'm going to come up with any good prose if I try to right now this minute. Crabs. Anything specific about crabs, Ed? Or just crabs are kind of cool? I don't think I could live on Christmas Island, though, where they get the absolute swarm of little red crabs every year. I mean, I like crabs. Crabs are great. I'm glad they exist. I don't think I need, like, 10,000 of them on the road when I'm trying to get somewhere. I think that is too many crab. I think for me, that is an instance of too many crab. crabs with mega cannons. I mean, we've assuredly got some crabs with mega cannons on Shoal. If nothing else, they're probably guarding known Leviathan migration routes. Doctor Who says, I'm looking forward to invading the Pacific Northwest this coming new year. I'm very much looking forward to you invading. We will go and do things and walk around places, and you can enjoy the mornings on our little island that is just... have you heard of Silent Hill? Behold, fog.
I wanted to have fun with the fact that I used the map in my little story.
Yay! The map was useful?
Yes, the opening lines is jutting out of a cliff at the north end of the Gleamwake Reefs, submerged in the range pressure belt just above the Atlantic where the waves fall to the Crimson World.
Oh, I love it.
Morrowgate was built on bones.
Oh, I love it. It's poetic and descriptive. Oh, that's excellent. I love it, I love it, I love it.
That's the opening line.
That is wonderful.
So we opened up the map and we have that.
Oh, I love it. That's great. And look, this is the joy of doing things the way that we've done them. It sounds like that was a really cool thing. Too bad it was all robo-gibberish to us. Oh, no!
Here, let me read that and see if I can get it across one time. Okay?
Go for it.
Do we have time?
Yes,
Okay.
we absolutely have time. Please do.
Okay. Jutting out of the cliff face at the north end of the Gleamwake Reefs, submerged in the mid-range pressure belt just above the benthic where the reefs fall into the Crimson Whirl, Morrowgate was built on bones. Not metaphorical ones, real, coral, thick, calcified growths harvested and regrown into load-bearing ribs, sunk deep into the Gleamwake's provincial bedrock, and stitched through with reinforced armatures. Where other outposts hummed and flexed with the tides, Morrowgate was stolid. Its bones did not vibrate. They endured. And so it goes on.
I love it. I love it. That's so descriptive. Hopefully, it came through to me clearly both times. Hopefully it did come through the second time to chat. Because, Discord and Twitch and OBS are a triad of eldritch beings that enjoy arguing with each other as much as they do working together. Orcslayer says much love for that. Excellent, excellent.
I want Night Owl to see if you understand. If they understand. Good. I am having a lot of fun with this.
That's the biggest thing that I hope everyone has is Shoal started out as here is a blank page, what can we make? And people having all of these ideas and that have all come together and we've built somewhere where we're at the point now that I think is just amazing. We went from we have literally nothing to we can now argue over which thing scientifically makes more sense than another thing for this setting because it is robust enough and fleshed out enough and meaningful enough to the people working on it that we care enough to argue over this stuff and work it out. And that's amazing. It's come purely from nothing. Nothing has happened to make this exist other than a whole group of people getting together and going, let's make something cool. That's magic. If we're nerds, we'd argue over blank paper. I mean, yeah, but isn't it more fun to argue over things that you can put on that paper? Though, admittedly, getting some nice quality paper to print the things out on is not a bad idea. And when the activity book is done, if you're planning on colouring in with anything other than, crayons or pencils, some good quality paper so that you can print on both sides and make it look like a proper activity book might be a good idea.
Doctor Who, I will punch. Do not drag me into the argument over paper sizes. No.
Yes, I have opinions on paper size as well.
We will not. I mean, things will die, and it will not be good.
Orcslayers has redeemed a pet. Please pet your nearest stack of papers, and/or bother a beastie if you have one nearby.
I have forever believed in the Oxford heavyweight paper that I have written everything on during my university years, army years, these years.
Oh, fabulous. Do like me some
What
nice
is your
heavy
printer?
paper.
Yes. Okay. By the way, in this little story, there's the Titan Graven Choir,
Oh, that's
which
a
is
name.
a Graven Choir, which is a Kallio Trencher class, taken from the Finnish word for seabed.
Okay.
So it's a Kallio Trencher class Titan frame, medium mass and old design, all the way from the Forge Wars.
Wow. I'm
Like
looking
an
forward to reading
actual
it.
relic. An actual relic
Oh,
that has been designed by Ceratinoids and refurbished by Podlans. The hero of the story is a Podlan,
yes.
and
Snail
because we
people.
haven't had it,
No, we haven't done much with
yes.
podlins. That would be very nice.
I've decided to go with Podlans and Laticals, and it essentially tells the story of a Graven Choir turning from a Sentinel to a Paragon, and and a little bit about how that happens.
Awesome. It's going to be a fun time. So we now are up to 57 people,
Yes.
some of whom I'm sure are here like, where's Stryker? Where is Stryker with the interesting stuff? But for those of you who
Yes.
weren't here at the beginning
Who do
and
not
have
know.
shoal interests, our current plan, next week we will gather as normal and we will look at where I've gotten to with Chapter 2, with all the wonderful notes that we've made, make any edits that we feel we need to make, possibly move into Chapter 3. The week following that will be the day after Christmas, Boxing Day, where we are going to just throw Shoal out the window and rant about Devil May Cry and why it's secretly genius and all of the clever things that it does narratively and with character arcs and how it uses video games as a storytelling medium perfectly and all of the thoughts I have and also all the things that it did wrong and how it learned from them, and that's going to be great. So we're going to do that on the 26th. And then the week after that, it will obviously be January, or, we'll be moving into January in the new year. We will be in 2026, which will be a great time for us to reconvene, look at everything we've achieved in a year, and begin looking at some of the short stories you guys are currently writing. If anybody would like to write a short story set on Shoal, or a long story, or a green text post, or anything that you would like based on Shoal and in our setting, you can find all of the materials to help you do so over in the Orcs, in the Discord. You can DM me if you need links to anything or questions answering. And in January, we will start looking at those short stories, compiling them into a nice accessible file type where you can go to the stories that you want to read. And of course next year is going to be very heavy on working on finishing the compendium, beginning to make artwork to go with it to illustrate it properly. And next year is going to be a big year for Shoal. There's going to be a lot of finalizing and productivity and end products we can give to people. So
Yay!
Doctor
gonna
Who
be
says,
great.
I would love a compendium of community stories. I can't wait. Could we review them when I come visit? January 23rd-ish. I imagine we're going to be working on short stories all through January. We won't just do one stream on them because I think there's going to be enough and they're going to be long enough that we won't be able to do it all in one stream. So absolutely, we can have a look at some of them while you were here and talk about the ones that you've enjoyed.
I'm starting to think maybe I want to snag a piece of the BPL website and just start uploading stuff there so people can download it from.
Especially once
community
we've got
project.
some finalized stuff. That would be wonderful if Tex is all on board for it. That would be very, very cool to be like,
I
hey,
will.
can we have a section here where people can grab our books and our compendium?
I mean, I will ask.
But you might just
but,
do it anyway.
I just might. It's like it'll be like the special pizza page in the website where you can only get if you know how to get into.
I will look
It's like-
forward to Tex just leaning over one day and going, Lady Red, can you explain? Be like, Lictor's fault. Don't ask me, I didn't do it. Lictor's fault.
I mean, It would be.
All right. You will ask whether it's for forgiveness or permission is yet to be decided. Yes, yes, there's something to be said for that.
All right, I think we should give Striker
Yeah,
his,
we are 10 minutes to the hour, so we will filter out and let Striker come and filter in and allow you guys to continue your wonderful Friday afternoon with the lovely people of Black Pants Legion and then the nonsense that we do on this channel. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for putting up with my madness and contributing to it. And thank you, Lictor, for assisting. It's been a good year. Doctor Who's going to acquire
Gladly.
food. That is a brilliant idea. I should also acquire food and possibly a bath because that would be nice.
I'm going to acquire sleep.
Sleep
You guys
is
keep
also
waffling.
nice. Sleep is also very nice. All right. As far as I know, WBPLW on Sunday as normal this week. I will see many of you there for betting and fun times. Thank you for all the goo. Please keep donating. Yeah, I think that's it. I will see you guys next week.
Next week. Bye.
Bye.
Ciao.